Chapter 1039. The vanguard of the great thousand world entered the divine realm, and a group of emperors attacked. But what was the result? Did the six realms lose? The answer was obvious. The six realms won. Several emperors of the great thousand world died. However, the result was the opposite. The six realms won, but they still retreated, because the momentum was unstoppable. Everyone knew that the great thousand world's foundation was too deep. To the great thousand world, what was the loss of a few emperors? One had to know that the great thousand world was made up of thousands or even tens of thousands of worlds. If each world gave birth to an emperor, there would be thousands of them. What about the six realms? The five realms were destroyed, and only the divine realm of the nine heavens was left. Even if the emperors of the other five realms were hiding in the divine realm, there would be less than 100 of them. There might not even be 30 of them. The disparity in strength between the two sides was too great. We can only fight. Jiang Qin sighed. There is no other choice. I am unwilling. Hun Gang sighed. His heart was very depressed. But what could he do? The great thousand world was indeed powerful. It was difficult to compete with them. Now, to leave a glimmer of hope for the future generations. It was a great fortune for the six realms. The Buddha Emperor's position in the great thousand world should be very high. This agreement was proposed by him. Jiang Qin said and glanced at the outer realm. There was an extremely bright golden sun, and that sun was the Buddha Emperor. Since he dared to negotiate with the six realms and dared to agree to this matter, his position in the great thousand world must not be low. At least he could bear this responsibility. However, there was a problem. Even if many people in the six realms survived, the six realms would have been destroyed by then. Then, where should the survivors go? There was only one answer, and that was to enter the great thousand world. However, could the great thousand world accommodate the creatures of the six realms? If they went to the great thousand world, would they be ostracized or even directly suppressed? At the thought of this, Jiang Qin's heart became more and more bitter, and he felt even more powerless. In the end, everything he was doing now was fighting for a glimmer of hope. As for whether that glimmer of hope could really let some people survive, it was hard to say. It seems that it is necessary to discuss it with the Buddha Emperor and ask him clearly. Jiang Qin thought to himself. However, with Jiang Qin's strength, he might not even have the chance to talk to the Buddha Emperor. He could only ask the Buddha Arch when the yellow sky's power possessed him again. At this moment, the battle around them was still going on. Zhanglu and the others were very fierce. Several of them rushed into the crowd, as if there was no one there. Of course, there were still many people of the great thousand world were watching. This was because the Buddha Emperor had said, "Great thousand world." This seemed fair, but in reality, the Buddha Emperor was still protecting the living beings of the great thousand world. They have the great thousand worlds, great thousand world, thousand world world, thousand world, thousand world. Of them, great thousand world live. Interesting. Just a few people are able to fight against thousands of cultivators from the great thousand world and not be at a disadvantage. Of you, of course. Out of them, that was of them. The person in the lead had phoenix eyes and white hair. His sleeves fluttered in the wind, making him look very ethereal. Behind him, there were three other youths. They were all very handsome and had extraordinary auras. One look, and one could tell that they were not ordinary people. The person who spoke was the white-haired youth with phoenix eyes. At this moment, with his arrival, the group of living beings in the great wide world who were still fighting suddenly stopped. They all retreated to the side and respectfully opened up a path, as if they were welcoming the group of people with phoenix eyes and white hair. Someone from the heavenly Phoenix clan? Phoenix Lin Plume. Many people in the surroundings exclaimed softly as they revealed the identity of the white-haired young man with phoenix eyes. The three young men behind him were all his followers, and their cultivations were all at the titled deity realm. As for Feng Lin Ling, his cultivation level had reached the level of a lesser chief god. Moreover, the aura he gave off was actually no weaker than that of a higher chief god. The few of you, according to the agreement between the Buddha Emperor and the emperors of the six realms, you can live. Feng Linling said, "When the 6 realms are destroyed, you can follow me into the great wide world and join my heavenly phoenix clan. You can rest assured that my heavenly phoenix clan will not exclude you. For cultivators with good talent, my heavenly phoenix clan will accept them." At this point, a young man behind him had a stern expression. He looked at Jianglu and the others and shouted, "Aren't you going to thank us? Are you done forcing us? Have you asked if we agree?" Wakako was very domineering. He glared at the person who shouted and said, "Who do you think you are? A dog relying on its master's power? Or should I say, a bunch of straw dogs?" As soon as he said this, the people around could not help but be moved. One had to know that that was a member of the Heavenly Phoenix clan. Even if it was his follower, ordinary people would not dare to speak to him like that. The Heavenly Phoenix clan status in the great wide world was extremely high. It was said that the ancestor of the Heavenly Phoenix clan was suspected to have taken that crucial step and stood above the emperor. "I like this arrogance and domineering attitude." Feng Linling nodded and praised. He did not have any intention of blaming Wakako. He glanced at Wakako and said, "I can see that people like you only submit to the strong, right? This is how the world is. The strong are respected. In my eyes, Wakako, if you're strong, you're right. If you're weak, you're nothing. Even your words are like farts." Wakako said bluntly. "Good, good." The admiration in Feng Linling's eyes grew stronger. It seemed that he valued Wakako very much. Then he nodded at the young man who had spoken before and said, "You'll fight with him." When the young man heard this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He immediately took a step forward and pointed at Wakako. "You'll pay for what you said just now." "Oh, why don't you give it a try?" Wakako smiled contemptuously. When he finished speaking, his body was like a purple gold thunderbolt as he rushed out. Wherever he passed, the void collapsed. Vaguely, one could hear the howls of tigers and wolves. He was too domineering, and his attacks were decisive. However, before he arrived, a purple fist radiance appeared in front of the young man. "You're just an earth-level titled deity," the young man said contemptuously. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. There seemed to be whirlpools rotating in his palm. With one strike, Wakako's fist radiance was shattered. At the same time, the young man's palm print did not reduce its momentum and directly bombarded Wakako's body. Bang! However, with this strike, Wakako's body only shook slightly. Even the corner of his clothes was not torn. Wakako stopped and patted the place where he was hit, as if he was dusting off dust. "That's it." Wakako raised his eyebrows and stared at the young man. He said, "You're a heaven-level titled deity? Oh, it seems that you're just so. Oh." The young man raised his eyebrows, and the cold light in his eyes grew stronger. His voice was as cold as the winter frost. He said, "You will be miserable." Chapter 1040. Feng Linling was from the Heavenly Phoenix clan. He was extremely talented and was quite famous even in the great thousand world. To be able to become his follower, his strength was definitely not weak. At that moment, the young man was infuriated by Wakako. With a furious roar, he formed seals with both hands. In an instant, a swamp appeared. It was as dark as an abyss and seemed to be able to swallow everything. In the swamp, there were whirlpools flowing in reverse. A terrifying pulling force erupted and enveloped Wakako's body. Wakako's expression froze, but there was no fear in his eyes. He took a step forward, and when his foot landed, it was like a golden millstone. It was as if he wanted to fill up the black swamp with his foot. "Idiot," the young man said disdainfully. "This is an abyss of Taoist techniques. Even if a Lord God came, he would be swallowed." "Is that so?" Wakako raised his eyebrows and continued to land his foot. His entire body was emitting endless light. Boom! In the next moment, the foot landed with a loud bang, causing the swamp's dirty water to splash everywhere. Even the whirlpools inside were destroyed. Then Wakako threw another punch. Like a meteor falling from the sky, it blasted through the swamp. Without waiting for the young man to react, Wakako rushed out like a purple gold rock. Wherever he passed, the sound of sonic booms could be heard. Boom! Boom! In the midst of the explosions, under everyone's shocked gazes, Wakako rushed to the young man and slapped him. The runes on his palm shone brightly, and there were even fragments of Taoist techniques floating. How dare you? The young man was shocked and furious. He raised his hand and punched out. At the same time, runes exploded in his eyes, and a terrifying divine consciousness rushed into Wakako's soul. Buzz! At that moment, Wakako's soul was impacted. His body stiffened, and his palm also stopped for a moment. At that moment, the young man retreated. However, as he retreated, his divine consciousness materialized and turned into a sharp sword that pierced between Wakako's eyebrows. He was going to kill him. Wakako, be careful. At this moment, Jianglu and the others cried out in alarm. Their expressions were tense, and their hearts were in their throats. I am the tyrant, unparalleled under the heavens. At this critical moment, Wakako regained his senses, stabilized his soul fluctuations, and with a roar, he punched out and shattered the sword formed by his divine sense. Soon after, he strode out like a shooting star, like a fierce tiger descending a mountain. He seemed to be even faster, like a streak of purple gold lightning. Boom! This time, without waiting for the young man to react, Ruo Xiao rushed in front of him and slapped the young man's face fiercely. Puff! A mouthful of blood sprayed out from the young man's mouth. Broken bones and teeth fell from his mouth, and half of his face was shattered. However, it had to be said that this youth was extremely powerful. He instantly reforged his flesh, and at the same time, his divine will erupted. This time, his divine sense gathered and scattered in the air like raindrops. Then, the divine thoughts turned into ice and frost that filled the sky like icicles. As they spun, they drowned Wakako. Boom! Boom! At this moment, everyone could only see a snow-white sky. They could not see Wakako's figure. The only thing that could be heard was a series of explosions, accompanied by a terrifying divine sense that flooded the area like a tidal wave. Wakako! Jianglu and the others exclaimed, looking nervous. However, all of a sudden, the ice and frost in the sky shattered. They saw Wakako's body emitting purple gold flames of the divine path. With a sweep of his hand, the sky and earth instantly turned clear. Then he stretched out his palm. There seemed to be a sea of flames in his palm, and his 5 fingers were like a cage, trapping the young man. Then, under everyone's horrified gaze, Wakako closed his 5 fingers and pressed his palm against the young man's skull. You can't do it! Wakako raised his eyebrows. He only needed to exert a little force to crush the young man's skull and destroy his soul. However, Wakako had some concerns. After all, there were too many creatures in the Greater Thousand Realms. He did not care if he killed them, but he was afraid that he would implicate Jiangchun and the others. Therefore, he stopped. Go to hell! Just when everyone thought that the battle had ended with Wakako's victory, the young man suddenly made a move. His divine thoughts burst out at an extremely fast speed. Like a dark flash of light, it instantly sank into Wakako's soul. Hiss! Wakako's face instantly turned pale. He gasped as his soul was hit. His body staggered a few steps and could not stand steadily. At the same time, the young man's divine thoughts turned into a sword and slashed at Wakako's skull. If this sword hit, Wakako would be seriously injured even if he did not die. How dare you? Shameless! Jianglu and the others shouted angrily and rushed over to save Wakako. However, the sword was too fast. Even if Jianglu and the others hurried to help, it was too late. Bastard! However, just when everyone thought that Wakako was about to die, Fenglin Ling suddenly shouted angrily. With a flick of his finger, he broke the young man's sword. Then, under everyone's gaze, Fenglin Ling slapped the young man's face and said coldly, "You've lost, and you still dare to hurt others? You're embarrassing me." Master, The young man was stunned. He wanted to explain, but he also understood that his behavior just now was indeed too much. After all, if Wakako had not stopped, he would have been a corpse by now. However, he was unwilling to accept this. After 3 breaths of silence, the young man said in a low voice, "Master, they're just ants in the burial ground." Why would you, for him, all living things in the world are equal. Victory or defeat is a matter of half. Feng Linling said coldly, "There's no difference between high and low. There's only a ray of light in your heart." With that, Feng Linling pointed his finger, and a ray of light entered the young man's body. Ah! The young man screamed miserably. His face was pale, and a trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Because he was Feng Linling's follower, and Feng Linling had crippled his cultivation in front of so many people. And all of this was because of a living thing in the burial ground? Why? Master, why? The young man roared angrily. His eyes were filled with confusion and resentment. "My Heavenly Phoenix clan doesn't need someone like you," Feng Linling said coldly. "You're a disgrace." With that, Feng Linling ignored the young man and turned to Wakako. He cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist, I'm sorry. I didn't discipline my subordinates well." "Don't tell me you think you saved me?" Wakako narrowed his eyes and pointed at the top of his head. "Even if that sword hit me, I wouldn't have died. Don't think that I'll thank you. The living things of the 6 realms don't need the pity of your great wide world." Wakako said. Feng Linling smiled and said, "I do like your temper, fellow Taoist. Your talent is also very outstanding. Why don't you seriously consider joining my Heavenly Phoenix clan?" Chapter 1041. Ever since Feng Linling appeared, Jiang Chun had not said a word. That was because he was sizing up Feng Linling and thinking about the future. As mentioned before, those who survived the 6 realms were destined to go to the Great Thousand World. Then, after going to the Great Thousand World, if they did not have anyone to rely on and no force to protect them, they were destined to have difficulties and might even die prematurely. Now, Jiangchen was thinking that perhaps the Heavenly Phoenix tribe could do it. However, after all, he had just seen Feng Linling, so Jiangchen could not be sure immediately. He still had to observe more. At that moment, Wakako was still as domineering as before. He looked straight at Feng Linling and raised his eyebrows. "I only respect the strong. If you can defeat my boss, I will agree to anything you ask me to do." As soon as he said that, the expressions of everyone present changed. That was because they all knew that the boss Wakako was talking about was Jiang Chun, and Jiang Chun was only a Xian god. Could it be that Wakako thought that Feng Linling, the master god, could not defeat Jiang Chun, the Xian god? How much confidence did she have in Jiang Chun to have the nerve to say that? Moreover, after Wakako said that it was equivalent to entrusting everything to Jiang Chun, everyone could not understand how much Wakako trusted Jiang Chun. Otherwise, why would he dare to say that? "Your boss? Who is it?" Feng Linling had just arrived, so of course he did not know who Wakako's boss was. Soon, someone pointed at Jiang Chun. When Feng Linling saw Jiang Chun's cultivation, his expression became unnatural. "This, fellow cultivator, are you joking?" Feng Linling frowned and said, "Perhaps your boss is really strong, but the difference in cultivation between him and me is not small. So what? I believe in boss," Wakako said seriously. Then he turned to look at Jiang Chun and asked, "Boss, is there a problem?" Jiang Chun had a strange look on his face. What kind of people were around him? She only knew how to dig a hole for him. Although Jiang Chun was strong, his cultivation was indeed a little low. Of course, facing average cultivators, Jiang Chun could still easily suppress them. But this Feng Linling in front of him was clearly not ordinary. Jiang Chun had been sizing up Feng Linling, but by then he still wasn't sure how strong Feng Linling's fighting power was. And now, Wakako had dug a hole for him. Should he jump into this hole? "Fellow Taoist, there's no rush. We'll stay here for a while. You have time to think about it." Feng Linling said, "As for fighting with your boss, forget it. I Feng Lin Ling don't like to bully people. In short, wherever boss goes, I'll go. Wakako said. Now, my boss hasn't said anything. His cultivation is indeed a little low. Why don't you fight with me? At this moment, a woman walked out. She had a valiant figure, but there was a murderous aura between her brows. This person was Tian Shui. Back then, when Glory World Academy was established, Tian Shui was also among them. She entered the West Hall, where Jiangchen was. Now that Glory World Academy had appeared, the 10 people who entered the West Hall were all here today. Looking at Tian Shui's current cultivation, she was at the titled God realm. Moreover, her title was not Earth, but Heaven. Thinking about it, it was most likely the Empress who secretly helped Tian Shui get a Heaven title from somewhere. Female, your cultivation is lower than mine. If I fight, it's not fair to you. Feng Lin Ling frowned and looked unwilling. And when these words fell into Tian Shui's ears, they were simply mocking her. Who was she? The descendant of the Empress. The blood of the Empress flowed in her veins. Although she was not the biological daughter of the Empress, and the Empress had never married or had a cultivation partner, she was from the Empress's clan. She was from the same clan as the Empress, from the Emperor clan. Tian Shui had the arrogance of an emperor, and also the murderous aura of the 10 sins. The most important thing was that the Empress's clan was filled with female power. Feng Lin Ling's other words were still fine, but that woman was simply a thorn in Tian Shui's flesh. Little white bird, come here. Sister will help you remove your feathers today. Tian Shui's face turned pale, and her murderous aura erupted. Her body shook, and the 3-headed and 6-armed Azura Dao Soul appeared behind her. And now, this Dao Soul's real name was the 10 Sins. 10 Sins. Damn! The Azura Dao Soul has actually evolved to the complete form? At this moment, there were exclamations everywhere. No one had expected to meet someone who had the 10 sins in the 6 realms. Moreover, it was a woman. Were you calling a little white bird? Feng Lin Ling's face darkened. One had to know that to the Heavenly Phoenix clan, calling them a bird was simply a form of humiliation. However, Feng Lin Ling seemed to be a macho man, and he did not get angry when facing Tian Shui. I'm talking about you. You have a head of white hair, and your original form is a phoenix. If you're not a little white bird, what are you? Tian Shui raised her brows and said, Hurry up, fellow cultivator. Since you insist, don't blame me for making a move, Feng Lin Ling said in a deep voice. As he spoke, he actually suppressed his cultivation to the level of a titled god. I never bully others, Feng Lin Ling said. Boom! However, just as he finished speaking, everyone saw Tian Shui making a move. With a loud explosion, the 10 Evils general manager directly rushed out. He waved his 3 heads and 6 arms, and saber lights and sword shadows overlapped each other. A blood-red barrier descended and enveloped Tian Shui and Feng Lin Ling. I really don't want to make a move against a woman. Feng Lin Ling frowned. With a push of his hands, he actually shattered the blood-red barrier. Then he attacked with his bare hands and punched out continuously. The fist and palm prints transformed into many white phoenixes, and with a whistling sound, they clashed with the 10 sins. At the same time, his original body rushed in front of Tian Shui, and his fist pressed down. It was like a phoenix's claw, and it carried a sharp aura, as though it was indestructible. The Dao technique of the Heavenly Phoenix clan, Phoenix Spirit 9 slashes. Someone exclaimed, You still dare to call yourself a king in front of me? Tian Shui's eyes narrowed, and she shouted, In this world, everyone in my clan is king. Boom! Just as she finished speaking, Tian Shui pulled out the sword in her hand, and a sword ray shot up like a crescent moon. Dang! The sword and Feng Lin Ling's palm collided, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. It was very ear-piercing. Tian Shui was stunned. Her sword was personally refined by the Empress, and it was extremely sharp. However, her opponent actually dared to take it head-on. Fellow cultivator, be careful. This is the Dao technique of my clan, Feng Lin Ling said softly. Next, I will use the second slash of the Phoenix Spirit 9 slashes. Bang! Just as he finished speaking, Feng Linling's chest was hit by Tian Shue's palm, and he was sent flying. You talk too much, Tian Shue said disdainfully. Little white bird. Chapter 1042. Tian Shui was dressed in white and had the 10 Evils chief minister on her back. She held a bright, long sword in her hand and looked like a goddess of war. She stared at Feng Linling with a tinge of fear in her eyes. Although she had sent Feng Linling flying earlier, Feng Linling was not injured at all. In fact, Feng Linling had not used his true strength since the beginning. Perhaps Feng Linling was a man who did not want to fight with a woman. However, it was different now. Tian Shui had called him a little white bird several times, and this made him angry. Woman, you have angered me, Feng Linling said coldly. Don't blame me for being merciless. We are enemies. Why do you need to go easy on me? Tian Shui said softly. The 10 Evils chief minister roared, and the 3 heads spat out the power of wind, rain, and thunder. They were like 3 dragons that charged towards Feng Linling. At the same time, the 6 arms danced with swords and saber lights, and sword shadows shot out like a gale. Tian Shue's body was like a ghost, leaving behind afterimages in the air. When she appeared again, she was already standing behind Feng Linling. She slashed out with her sword, and the sword light was like snow. It was so white that it made one's scalp numb. It was as if nothing in the world could block this sword. In front of him was the 10 Evils chief minister, and behind him was a shocking sword light. Facing such a pincer attack, Feng Linling was very calm. He pointed out with his finger, and a ray of light shot out from his fingertip. A white phoenix let out a long cry. It flapped its wings and created waves in the air, shattering the saber lights and sword shadows. Even the 10 Evils chief minister was sent back into Tian Shue's body. After that, he turned around and raised his middle finger and index finger. Under Tian Shue's horrified gaze, he easily caught her long sword. A woman should stay at home to take care of her husband and children. Even if you have some strength, you should not show off your abilities. Feng Linling said softly. Fighting is a man's business. Who are you looking down on? Tian Shui glared angrily and shouted. The 10 Evils chief minister appeared again. This time, the moment the 10 Evils chief minister appeared, he turned into a rain of light and seemed to have collapsed. However, a scarlet battle robe was draped over Tian Shue's body. At the same time, the long sword in his hand turned blood red. When he slashed down, it was as if a river of blood was flowing down. As a woman, it's not bad that you have such strength. You can join my Heavenly Phoenix clan, Feng Linling whispered. Suddenly, a huge white phoenix appeared behind him. Then, the phoenix let out a long cry. Rays of white flames burst out like the most dazzling art in the world. As the wings of the white phoenix flapped, white flames descended, first striking Tian Shui, then suppressing her to the ground. You lost. After doing all this, Feng Linling spoke in a light voice. After that, he actually walked in front of Tian Shui and stretched out his hand. Let me help you up. This guy, is he a male chauvinist or a gentleman? Why does it feel weird? Jiang Chen muttered. On the other hand, the beings from the great wide world seemed very calm. They did not find Feng Linling's behavior strange at all. This was because the Heavenly Phoenix clan valued etiquette the most. Moreover, the entire clan was dominated by male chauvinism. My Heavenly Phoenix clan belongs to the Phoenix clan. Our Phoenix clan has always been more courteous than others, Feng Linling said. However, Tian Shui did not appreciate his kindness. After glaring at Feng Linling, she got up and returned to Jiang Chen's side without saying a word. A loss was a loss. This was normal. Tian Shui did not feel anything. After all, there was a difference in strength between all things in the world. However, even if you were strong today, it did not mean that you would always be strong in the future. A group of human pets from the great wide world. I am Huang Dade of the Degeneration. Suddenly, an ear-piercing voice came from afar. Then Long Dade, Huang Dade, and Niao Dade flew over. Before they arrived, The arrogant words of these three people reverberated in all directions. This was especially so for Huang Dade. After not seeing him for a while, this guy's cultivation had improved a lot. He had become an upper-level chief god. Now he was in high spirits and looked down on everyone. This was especially so when he looked at the human race. He kept calling them human pets. He was very happy. Ah, fellow cultivator, it's a phoenix. The group of living beings from the great wide world had strange expressions. They looked at Huang Dade, who was baring his teeth and spouting vulgarities. Then they looked at Feng Lin Ling, who was absolutely polite. Is this the difference between them? That's not right. Didn't Feng Lin Ling say that the Phoenix clan cares about etiquette? This Phoenix. Why? Many people were discussing, but no one said anything. This was because they did not know that Huang Dade was a living being from the Six Realms. In their eyes, since Feng Lin Ling had appeared here today, other living beings from the Phoenix clan would also appear here. They thought that this Phoenix might be related to Feng Lin Ling. They might even be relatives. However, Feng Lin Ling was also dumbfounded. One must know that in the great wide world, the entire Phoenix clan was well-mannered. He had never seen a phoenix that behaved so boldly, especially this phoenix. When it saw some good-looking female cultivators, it even whistled and said, "You're good-looking. You're qualified to be my human pet. I'll allow you to warm up the atmosphere and breed for me." Feng Lin Ling was completely confused. He said bluntly, "I don't know him. He's not from the Heavenly Phoenix clan." Hey! Little white bird. Wow! White Phoenix. At this moment, the three great deities arrived. When they saw Feng Lin Ling, they immediately went over. Long Dade went up to Feng Lin Ling. He blinked his dragon eyes and asked curiously, "Huang Dade, this guy's color is different from yours. We're different species. Perhaps his bloodline is not pure." Huang Dade thought for a while and said, "After all, I'm the 9 Netherworld Phoenix. I'm the only one in this world. Ordinary Phoenix bloodlines are not as pure as mine. I think his bloodline is not as pure as Huang Dade's." Bird Dade's face was almost on Feng Lin Ling's face. "The three of you, aren't you going overboard?" At this moment, Feng Lin Ling could not hold it in anymore. He released his cultivation and returned to the level of an over-god. Then, a huge white phoenix shadow appeared behind him. He said coldly, "I'm from the Heavenly Phoenix clan. My bloodline is pure and flawless." Oh, Heavenly Phoenix? Long Dade was stunned. He had never heard of the Heavenly Phoenix clan. He frowned and asked curiously, "Can the Heavenly Phoenix clan compare to my holy ancestral dragon?" "I don't know if they can compare to your brother Long, but they definitely can't compare to my ancestral vermilion bird," Bird Dade said seriously. When Huang Dade heard this, he coughed a few times and said, "What Heavenly Phoenix clan? I was born and raised by heaven and earth. I am the only 9 Netherworld Phoenix in the world." Chapter 1043. There were many living beings in the world, and they were known as the 100 races. Among them, the number of demons was much higher than the human race. Among the huge demon races, the Heavenly Phoenix race was definitely the king of the demons. Their bloodline was extremely strong, and their talents and physical bodies were not comparable to ordinary demons. However, Feng Lin Ling was a little messy at that moment. That was because the three deities in front of him were each more powerful than the other. The holy ancestral dragon? Damn it, wasn't that the dragon race's true ancestor? Logically speaking, such a living being should not appear in the future unless it was born from an accident. As for the holy ancestral dragon, no matter which demon race it was placed in, it was the king of kings. Its bloodline was extremely noble. If the dragon race in the Great Thousand World knew that there was an underage holy ancestral dragon in the Six Realms, the entire dragon race would probably come to welcome Long Dade. Look at that Bird Dade, the vermilion bird ancestor. The vermilion bird was the flame controller of the 4 divine beasts. It had been famous since ancient times, and its strength was not inferior to the Heavenly Phoenix race. Most importantly, this vermilion bird was also at the ancestral level. Of course, to Feng Lin Ling, the ancestral dragon, and vermilion bird were not of the same race as him. Since Feng Linling had a noble status and a pure bloodline, it had nothing to do with him. However, Huang Dade was a phoenix, born from heaven and earth, and only one of its kind. This Feng Linling had a strange expression. He thought that such an extinct living being would actually appear in the six realms. One had to know that there were many phoenixes in the phoenix race. There were ice, fire, lightning, and other types of phoenixes. Among them, the heavenly phoenix race was a wind-type phoenix. It was considered the king of the entire phoenix race. However, compared to the 9 netherworld phoenix, the heavenly phoenix race was nothing. According to the historical records of the phoenix race, the 9 netherworld phoenix was the true king of the phoenix race. It was far from what the heavenly phoenix race could compare to. The phoenix race knows etiquette. Feng Linling frowned and took a few steps back. Fellow cultivators, you've gone too far. Little white bird, why are you so petty? Just let us take a look. Long Dade shouted. Indeed, I've never seen a white phoenix before. I even like it when I see one. Tsk. Huang Dade, is this your relative? Hurry up and acknowledge him. Perhaps he will be of great use in the future. Bird Dade clenched his teeth and said. However, ever since Huang Dade started following Long Dade, he had a very high standard. He glanced at Feng Linling from the corner of his eyes, curled his lips, and said, It's just an ordinary heavenly phoenix. It's fine to be my follower. At this moment, Feng Linling could no longer hold it in. Even if your bloodline is noble and pure, but I'm stronger than you. In this world where the strong are respected, you have to understand the situation clearly. The three of you, seeing that we are all demons, I will not lower myself to your level. Feng Linling said in a deep voice, If you continue to shoot your mouse off and have the intention to harm me, don't blame me for being ruthless. Little white bird is angry? Long Dade widened his eyes, picked his teeth with his dragon claws, and said mockingly, Little white bird, show us what it means to be ruthless. So what if you are the holy ancestral dragon? Feng Linling shouted angrily, Don't force me. You're quite arrogant. And how dare you speak to Brother Long like that? At this moment, Bird Dade and Huang Dade did not wait for Long Dade to attack. Both birds were at the level of chief gods. Their bloodlines were pure. As their cultivation increased, their abilities became even more terrifying. Boom! Boom! In the next moment, under everyone's stunned gaze, Feng Linling could not even last one round and was suppressed to the ground by Bird Dade and Huang Dade. The previously arrogant Feng Linling was beaten out of his original form. His feathers were messy, and he glared at the 3 Dades angrily. Tsk. The 3 of you, don't go overboard. He is from the heavenly phoenix race. The 3 of you calm down. Let's talk nicely. Don't fight. You are all demons. Around them, a few God King level cultivators spoke. They did not attack Long Dade and the other 2. Instead, they smiled. This made Jiangchen a little confused. What was going on? Logically speaking, these people came from the Great Thousand World and had a common enemy. They should attack Long Dade and the other 2 at this moment. But now, it felt like these people were sucking up to Long Dade and the other 2. Of course, Jiangchen did not know that the dragon race and the vermilion bird race were very powerful in the Great Thousand World, and the demons were not separated by borders. If the dragon race and the vermilion bird race of the Great Thousand World knew that their ancestors were here, they would definitely come and welcome them. Now, this group of people was very clear. If they could build a good relationship now, they might be able to build a relationship with the dragon race and the vermilion bird race in the future. At this moment, when the 3 Dades saw that this group of powerhouses from the Great Thousand World did not make things difficult for them, they immediately became arrogant, especially Long Dade. As the leader of the 3 Dades, he looked up to the sky and narrowed his eyes, as if he was the most capable person in the world. As for Niao Dade, he was also tall and straight, and he enjoyed the feeling of being admired. Only Huang Dade's behavior, I can see that you all want to curry favor with me. I'll give you a chance now. Get a few beautiful young girls here. I want to take in human pets, and I want to reproduce. Huang Dade shouted. As soon as these words came out, the group of people had strange expressions. Some female cultivators even blushed. Even Jiang Chun could not stand it anymore. He coughed a few times and said, "Pay attention to your image. You don't deserve to be a phoenix," Feng Linling said in a deep voice. He felt that Huang Dade was too embarrassing for the phoenix race. However, Huang Dade did not think so. Is it wrong for me to want to reproduce? I want to reproduce a 9 Netherworld phoenix race. At that time, the Heavenly Phoenix tribe, the Fire Phoenix tribe, they will all have to submit to my 9 Netherworld phoenix. Let him go. Suddenly, an ordinary-looking young man walked out from the crowd. He slowly came in front of Miao Dade and Huang Dade. He did not do anything, but Huang Dade and Miao Dade were sent flying. Then, the young man helped Feng Linling up and said softly, "Are you okay, big brother?" When Feng Linling saw the young man, the arrogance in his eyes disappeared, and he said with a trace of shame, "Big brother, I've embarrassed the Heavenly Phoenix race." "It's okay." The ordinary-looking young man shook his head and comforted him. Their bloodline is indeed extraordinary. It's normal for their strength to be above yours. Moreover, the two of them attacked you at the same time. "Little brat, how dare you hurt my brothers?" At this moment, Long Day glared at the ordinary-looking young man. He spat out dragon breath and stared at the ordinary-looking young man. Chapter 1044. This young man was too ordinary, so much so that no one noticed him when he was in the crowd earlier. At this moment, everyone realized that this ordinary-looking young man had the same white hair as Feng Linling. Moreover, Feng Linling even called him Big Brother. With Feng Linling's identity, it was naturally impossible for him to become someone else's follower. Then, this young man's identity was self-evident. He was also from the Heavenly Phoenix clan. My younger brother will never bully others. I hope that everyone will not bully him. At this moment, the young man looked at the 3 great virtues with a hint of fear in his eyes. After all, the identities of these 3 great virtues were there. Even if they were creatures of the 6 realms, in the end, they were still demons. Moreover, they were 3 ancestral demons. Even if the elders of the Heavenly Phoenix clan, or even the clan leader came, they would not dare to do anything to the 3 great virtues. "Little brat, are you courting death? How dare you attack my 2 brothers?" Long Dade said at the top of his voice. He glared and breathed out dragon's breath. The dragon's breath was like a remnant cloud, sweeping in all directions. A scorching aura filled the air with endless dragon's might. This dragon is only a lord god, but his dragon's might is comparable to a godly king true dragon, as expected of an ancestral true dragon. If the dragon clan knew that there was an ancestral true dragon here, they would most likely come and respectfully welcome him back. Many people exclaimed. There were even people who stood out and stared at the ordinary young man. "Kid, show some respect when you speak. He's an ancestral true dragon." "That's right. Even if you're from the Heavenly Phoenix clan, you have to keep a low profile and be humble in front of this ancestral true dragon." In an instant, 3 godly kings from the great wide world stood out and supported Long Dade. Jiang Chun was really surprised by what he had seen. Humans are inferior to dragons. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly in his heart. They were clearly on 2 different sides, but in the end, look at the 3 great virtues. Even the godly kings of the great wide world had to curry favor with them. This was the difference between different races. "I'm already keeping a low profile." The ordinary young man frowned and said, "If it weren't for their identities, it wouldn't have been as simple as sending them flying. Kid, do you think you can suppress us? Arrogant. It's just a little white bird." Huang Dade and Yao Dade scolded angrily. They had been sent flying by this young man and had lost face. Now, the 2 birds bared their fangs and looked like they were going to swallow each other alive. However, these 2 birds soon became listless. It was all because they found out from the mouths of everyone that this ordinary-looking young man was called Feng Qilin. and he was the descendant of the current patriarch of the Heavenly Phoenix clan. Moreover, the identity of the Phoenix Chelan was just like its name. Not only did it possess the pure bloodline of the Heavenly Phoenix clan, but it also possessed the bloodline of the Chelan clan. It could be said that he was a living being with two top-notch bloodlines. Moreover, according to rumors, he was highly valued by the elders of the Celestial Phoenix clan and the Chelan clan. He cultivated the innocuous cultivation technique of the two great clans, and his strength was far above the Phoenix Chelan plume. Feng Chelan is a higher chief god, but he once suppressed a godly king. What kind of battle prowess is this? He deserves to be called the heaven's pride of the younger generation in the great thousand world. Many people exclaimed in admiration, but there were also some who curled their lips and didn't care about Feng Chelan's identity. It was all because there were all kinds of strange things in the great thousand world, and there were many heaven's prides who were stronger than Feng Chelan. However, Feng Chelan was really something in the six realms. Let's not talk about hurting my two brothers for now, Long Dade said coldly. Previously, you wanted my other brother to join your Heavenly Phoenix clan? Why? You want to take him in as your subordinate? Your other brother? Feng Chelan Plume was stunned. That's him. Long Dade pointed at Wakako and said, What are you thinking? Do you think my brothers are inferior to your Heavenly Phoenix clan? Are you trying to provoke us? Feng Chelan Plume was a little confused. He really didn't expect that this group of people in front of him were all together. Moreover, from the looks of it, they all seemed to have the same big brother, that Xian God Realm youth. I just cherish talent and seek a way out for him, Feng Chelan Plume said. Feng Linling said, Everyone knows that the six realms are about to be destroyed. The only place you can go to is the Great Thousand World. The Great Thousand World is deep and complicated. The forces there are intricate and intertwined, and it won't treat the living beings of the six realms well. If no one protects you, you're destined to find it difficult to enter the Great Thousand World, and you might even die prematurely. Feng Chelan Plume's words were naturally correct, and it could be seen that this person would not lie. However, things were different now. That was because the three Badana had come today. Moreover, they already knew that the Demon Clan was different from the Human Clan. The Demon Clan was very united, and they especially valued ranks. As long as the three Badanta entered the Great Thousand World, they would be able to obtain the protection of their respective clans and even be respected as kings. Then, as long as they followed the three Badana into the Great Thousand World, what was there to worry about? With the protection of the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird Clan, how could Wakako and the others not be able to do well in the Great Thousand World? It was all a misunderstanding before. We didn't suffer any losses, so let's drop the matter, okay? Feng Chelan said in a calm tone. It seemed that he did not want to cause trouble. However, the three Badana's confidence rose, and their tempers rose even more. Huang Dade and Niao Dade stood beside Long Dade, looking unhappy. As the leader of the three Badana, Long Dade naturally had to express his stance. He stared at Feng Chelan and said coldly, Apologize to my brother. Fellow Daoist, you've gone too far. Feng Chelan's tone also turned cold as he said in a deep voice, This place is very far from the Great Thousand World. As soon as he said that, the expressions of the surrounding people suddenly became solemn. It was obvious that Feng Chelan was warning Long Dade. It would take an entire month for an emperor to come from the Great Thousand World to the Six Realms. And it would take a month for the news here to spread back to the Great Thousand World. By the time the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird Clan of the Great Thousand World knew that there were ancestral living beings in the Six Realms and sent people over, it would take 2 months for them to come and go. In these 2 months, Long Dade and the other two would not be protected. In these 2 months, not to mention that the Six Realms had long been destroyed. Even if they were not, Feng Chelan was confident that he could kill Long Dade and the other two. At that time, would the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird Clan fight with the Heavenly Phoenix Clan for 3 dead people? That was obviously impossible. At that moment, the three Badana also came to their senses and knew that they had indeed been too arrogant. However, were they going to admit defeat just like that? I don't care if it's right or wrong. I only know one thing. My little brother feels wronged, so as his big brother, I have to stand up for him. At that moment, Jiang Chun, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke. He stepped out and slowly walked toward Feng Qilin. His eyes were full of fighting spirit, and his hair danced in the wind. There was a purple-gold light and inextinguishable fire burning on his body. Chapter 1045. Everyone was stunned. A little Xian god cultivator dared to challenge Feng Qilin? He was courting death. However, the eyes of Long Dade and the rest were filled with excitement. They hadn't seen Jiang Chun fight for a long time. Boss is going to fight. Boss, go for it. Kill this little white bird. Zhang Lu and the others were extremely excited. They didn't expect Jiang Chun to lose to Feng Qilin. After all, in their hearts, Jiang Chun was invincible. When the people around saw Zhang Lu and the others' attitude, they were all stunned. Are you guys mistaken? Are you that confident in Xian God Cultivator? Even Feng Qilin was speechless. Are all the living beings in the 6 realms so arrogant? He was a Lord God, and there was a gap of several realms between him and Xian God. No matter how strong Jiang Chun was, he couldn't fight against a Lord God, right? Are you sure? Feng Qilin frowned and looked at Jiang Chun. There is no fairness in this world. I am a few realms higher than you, and according to the rules, I can't fight you. However, if you want to challenge me, I can accept the challenge. My little brother is wronged. Do you think I, as his big brother, can sit back and do nothing? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows. There is no fairness in this world. You don't have to suppress your realm when I fight with you. How arrogant! Where did he get his confidence from? And Xian God challenging a Lord God? Do you want to die? The people from the great wide world didn't think Jiang Chun would win. Some people even spoke directly and didn't hide their contempt. Fight! After a few breaths, Jiang Chun came close to Feng Qilin. He shouted, and the emperor's vine stretched out behind him. On the vine that was as thick as a branch, an immortal bird was burning with flames. With a long cry, it seemed to break the sun. Dual Tao souls? Someone exclaimed. The 6 realms have given me many surprises. So what? Dual Tao souls are powerful, but the difference in cultivation is too big. At this moment, Feng Qilin didn't say anything. He stared at Jiang Chun, and after a few breaths, he suddenly attacked. Boom! The sound of air being torn apart rang out as Feng Qilin struck out with his palm, which transformed into a white phoenix claw. The phoenix claw struck out horizontally, causing space to shatter apart, and it even carried numerous divine Tao laws. Today I'll test my combat strength, Jiang Chun murmured. His eyes flickered as he waved his hand. The emperor's vines burst out and collided with the phoenix claws like purple golden swords. Boom! Successive explosions resounded out, and it was even more like the sound of steel colliding. The vine and phoenix claw collided, and it actually caused strands of sparks to erupt. This Tao soul, Emperor's vine? That's not right. Why do I feel like it's even stronger than the Emperor's vine? Many people were puzzled. Even if the Emperor's vine was a top-notch Tao soul, it could not possibly have such power. At this moment, Jiang Chun attacked again. The undying bird Tao soul turned into flames and engulfed the phoenix Qilin like a tornado. Screech! Screech! 2 long cries suddenly erupted. Within the raging flames, the undying bird and a white phoenix were entangled in battle. The 2 of them tore at each other, and for a moment, they were actually neck and neck. So powerful! Is this really the strength of the abstruse god realm? Everyone exclaimed, and their faces were filled with disbelief. One had to know that the strength of a Tao soul was directly related to the strength of the original body. Jiang Chun's undying bird Tao soul was actually able to fight with the Phoenix Qilin's original body and was not at a disadvantage. From this, one could see that he indeed had the strength to fight against an over-god. As expected, a boss, abstruse god realm strength to fight against an over-god. If he wins, he will probably go down in history. Zhang Lu and the others exclaimed, and their eyes shone with excitement and burning admiration. Interesting, the Phoenix Qilin said softly, but he shook his head and said, "It's a pity that your cultivation level is too low. Cultivation level is the standard of ordinary people," Jiangchen said softly, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He formed a seal with his hands and struck out a dragon fist. Boom! At that moment, everyone could vaguely see a winged dragon rising from Jiangchen's spine and merging with the dragon fist, and the dragon's roar shook the sky. A terrifying dragon aura erupted, and the dragon aura's power was not weaker than long days. You have the dragon bloodline? The Phoenix Qilin exclaimed softly, but his expression did not change. White phoenix feathers appeared around him and shot out like sharp arrows. Boom! Explosions sounded, and the phoenix feathers were sharp and did not seem to be strong enough. However, when they encountered the pair of dragon fists, these seemingly indestructible phoenix feathers actually turned into misty rain and dissipated along with it. This time, the Phoenix Qilin's expression finally changed. His expression became serious, and he formed a seal with his hands, and a towering white flame fell from the sky. This was the true fire of the heavenly Phoenix tribe, and it was not weaker than the inextinguishable fire. That's it? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows, and roses bloomed around him. Although he did not know what the roses were used for, Jiangchen felt that they could be used. As expected, when the roses bloomed, wisps of divine light were emitted, and they actually extinguished the true fire of the heavenly Phoenix tribe. Moreover, under the roses that filled the sky, a tiger appeared. With a roar, it pounced toward the Phoenix Qilin like a tiger coming down from the mountain. Interesting, the power of dragon and tiger. The Phoenix Qilin's expression froze, and he retreated while forming a seal with both hands. In an instant, a phoenix phantom appeared on his left hand, and it turned into a fist aura. In his right hand, a Qilin took shape and turned into a palm print. A dragon and a tiger against a Qilin and a phoenix? This scene is really rare. Just as everyone exclaimed, the attacks of the four beasts collided. Unlike what everyone had imagined, Jiangchen's dragon and tiger seemed indestructible. After a stalemate with the phoenix and the Qilin in the air, they actually crushed them. The Phoenix Qilin did not expect this, and he could not even react. He was directly hit by the fist aura and palm print formed by the dragon and tiger, and he was sent flying. However, he was a chief god after all, and his cultivation foundation was extremely deep. While flying backward, he forcefully stabilized his body, and then his body faded as if it had exploded. In an instant, the Phoenix Qilin turned into 9 figures, and each of them was forming a seal. That was the Tao technique of the heavenly Phoenix tribe, Phoenix Spirit 9 kills. Previously, the Phoenix Qilin plume had used it, but it was not fully used. Furthermore, it was used one move after another. However, the Phoenix Qilin was different. He used his body as an incarnation and actually used all 9 moves of the Phoenix Spirit 9 kills at the same time. In an instant, the world was filled with dense killing intent, and there were even phoenix cries. It's time to test my combat strength. Jiangchen was also a little nervous, but he was not afraid to fight. He formed a seal with both hands, and array patterns appeared. A barrier rose, and talismans scattered in front of him. In an instant, an obscure and complicated array formation formed and enveloped Jiangchen. Chapter 1046. The array was formed, and the light screen was gorgeous. The runes and divine light coexisted, and it was extremely bright. It was as if the stars were hanging in the sky, and it was as if the sun and the moon were floating. The most brilliant light in the world was now on Jiangchen. Such attainments in array formations. Amazing! There's such a cultivator in the 6 realms? Many people exclaimed, but they still didn't think highly of Jiangchen. That was because Feng Qilin was too strong. Among the many geniuses in the boundless world, he could be ranked among the top. Boom! At that moment, 9 figures landed in the surroundings. They all used different moves, and each move was meant to kill. Feng Qilin's claws were like swords, sabers, and spears. They were even like a millstone that was rolling, wanting to crush everything. Amidst numerous explosions, the Phoenix Spirit 9 Annihilation descended and blasted onto the formation. The array formation shook, and ripples spread out continuously. The runes and divine light of the array formation flickered and were constantly being destroyed. At that moment, Jiang Chun was standing in the array formation with a calm expression. A green lamp hung above his head. He was forming a seal. After 3 breaths, a part of the array formation was broken. At the same time, Jiang Chun formed a seal, and a sword ray burst out from his hand, as if it was going to break through the 9 heavens. 10,000 transformations heaven slash. Boom! However, amidst an explosive bang, the sword light was swift and fierce, yet it merely annihilated 3 of the 9 Phoenix Spirit slaughters. Looking around, there were still 6 figures dancing around the array formation. Their killing moves were constantly approaching, and their killing intent was like a strong wind that swept out in all directions. Many people retreated. Even the godly kings were afraid and didn't dare to get too close to these 6 figures. He's defeated. Too arrogant. With the cultivation of a profound god, he wants to fight against a master god? Isn't that nonsense? Mocking and contemptuous voices rang out continuously. Even Zhang Lu and the others broke out in cold sweat for Jiang Chen. On the other hand, Jiang Chen's expression was still calm. His hands danced continuously, and he was still forming seals. As he continued to form seals, the flame in the myriad change heavenly lamp became brighter and brighter. In the end, it was as if a bright sun was floating in the lamp. After 10 breaths of time, when the array formation was broken, Jiang Chen's seal was completely formed. At this moment, a heart-palpitating aura erupted from Jiang Chen's body. Endless battle intent flashed in his eyes. The green lamp shone brightly, and the flame gathered in front of him, finally turning into a solid longsword. In the next moment, Jiang Chen held the longsword in his hand and focused his gaze. With a wave of his hand, a sword aura that far exceeded that of the 10,000 transformations heavenly lamp shot out. Sword lights fluttered about as if they were boundless, and they were like 100 flowers blooming and falling. They instantly covered this expanse of the heavens and the earth. Boom! Immediately after, flowers bloomed and withered, and sword rays flashed. In just a few short breaths, the remaining 6 moves of the Phoenix Qilin were destroyed. At the same time, the sword beams that filled the sky merged into one. The long sword in Jiang Chen's hand blossomed with multicolored light, swallowing and spitting out sword beams. 10,000 swords opened the heavens. At this moment, Jiang Chen roared. His hair danced in the wind as he struck out with his sword. In a daze, everyone seemed to see a hole being cut in the sky, and the vast Tao was rising and falling under this sword aura. Boom! The sword aura flashed by at an extremely fast speed. Before everyone could react, they saw the Phoenix Qilin's figure fly out. Blood splattered along the way, and half of his body split open. You are qualified to be my opponent. The Phoenix Qilin roared. The divine power in his body surged, and his injuries healed as he stabilized himself. However, just as he finished speaking, his expression suddenly changed greatly. This was because Jiang Chen had come up behind him without him noticing. I am qualified to be your opponent. Then what about you? Are you qualified to be my opponent? Jiang Chen said softly. Then, in front of everyone, he struck out with his sword. However, in the end, the sword didn't strike down. Instead, it pressed against the Phoenix Qilin's glabella. At this moment, the Phoenix Qilin's life was in Jiang Chen's hands. Victory and defeat were already decided. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. The Phoenix Qilin's expression was ugly. He never thought that he would lose to a profound god. However, he could afford to lose. Apologize to my brothers, and this matter will be settled, Jiang Chen said softly. I don't care who is right or wrong. I only care about my brothers. I will remember this matter, the Phoenix Qilin said coldly. Then he looked at Long Dade and the others, cupped his hands, and bowed. Everyone, Feng Qilin, was wrong for what happened before. Does this guy really want to die? Forcing the Phoenix Qilin to apologize? This is a slap to the Sky Phoenix clan's face. However, I have to say that this guy is ridiculously strong. He actually defeated the over-god Phoenix Qilin with the cultivation of a profound god. Exclamations shook the sky. Many people were shocked. Even now, they couldn't believe that the Phoenix Qilin had lost. However, the truth was right in front of them, and they couldn't doubt it. Kill him! Kill! Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted angrily. How dare a filthy creature from the burial ground ruin the reputation of the great thousand world? Kill! This furious roar was like a fuse that instantly ignited this place. The people who originally looked down on the creatures of the six realms attacked decisively at this moment and charged toward Jiangchen. You're on the opposite side after all, Jiangchen said softly. He had already expected this. However, so what? He was fearless. Jiangchen was invincible as long as he couldn't fight someone 2 levels above him. Moreover, he now understood that his combat strength was enough to suppress the overgods. I think all of you are courting death, Wakako shouted angrily. Purple energy erupted from his body like a king, and his domineering aura soared into the sky. All of you retreat, Jiangchen shouted with a hint of mockery on his face. Today, I'll let you know that although the 6 realms are going to be destroyed, the living beings will not. You're dead meat. You're just an ant. At this moment, thousands of cultivators attacked, and all of them rushed toward Jiangchen. You're bullying my master like this. Have you asked for my permission? At this moment, Bai Fengyu's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness. The power of the great moon body erupted, and with a gentle wave of her snow-white hand, a snow-white battle suit covered Jiangchen's body. At the same time, Hualini also attacked. The power of the All-Spirit's sacred body erupted, and she summoned the power of an ancient battle spirit to support Jiangchen. Master, I haven't danced for you in a long time. Nayland Mayer looked charming. Then, under the horrified gaze of everyone, she started a battle dance. At this moment, Jiangchen had a strange expression. With the great moon battle suit, the power of the battle spirit, and the support of the battle dance, he felt invincible. Do whatever you want, I'm invincible, Jiangchen roared, like a fierce tiger coming down from the mountain. Facing thousands of cultivators from the great thousand domains, he didn't retreat. Instead, he charged forward. Master, you're invincible. We're only responsible for being beautiful. Nayland Mayer looked charming, and her dance was even more moving. Many people were stunned. Chapter 1047. Since people who were 2 levels higher could not fight, this battle was not stressful for Jiangchen at all. Moreover, now that his 3 disciples had made a move, 3 types of power were added to his body, making him look invincible. Just like that, Jiangchen charged into the crowd. He did not even bother to use his divine skills and Tao skills. He punched a child one by one. In just a dozen breaths of time, more than 500 people were beaten down. In the end, the remaining group of people did not dare to move and retreated into the distance. This person is really worthy of being their boss, Feng Linling praised. Although he had lost face in front of Long Dade and the others, he did not lie and did not go against his heart. Feng Qilin was the same. He kept nodding and said, if this person enters the great wide world and does not die prematurely, he will definitely become a great person. The 6 realms are destined to be destroyed. If this person grows up in the future and wants to take revenge on the great wide world, it will not be easy to deal with him. Feng Linling frowned. They could all see that Jiangchen, the profound god, was really invincible. If such a person grew up and took revenge on the great wide world in the future, the consequences would be very serious. Those demons can't be killed, but Feng Qilin whispered, he won't be able to live. It's a pity that a genius is destined to not be able to leave the six realms alive. Feng Linling sighed. He really cherished talents. If he had not had a conflict with Long Dade and the other two, he could have accepted Jiang Chun. As long as the Heavenly Phoenix clan was willing to help Jiang Chun would naturally be able to survive. Of course, that was what they thought. As for what would happen to Jiang Chun in the future, no one would have thought. At this moment, Jiang Chun had a teasing look on his face. He glanced at the people around him and said, "Is it over? You. How did you cultivate? How can a profound god have such strong combat power? This is too terrifying. This is too ridiculous." Many people felt bitter in their hearts. They had never thought that there would be such a monster in the six realms. Even in the great thousand world, such a genius would still be a top-notch existence. However, there were also people who sneered. Although they could not defeat Jiang Chun, there were countless geniuses in the great thousand world who could deal with Jiang Chun. Moreover, that group of people were most likely on their way here. This kid, over 800 points, at this moment, in the outer realm, the Buddha of the Arch was staring at the stone tablet in front of him. At the top of the tablet was Jiang Chun's name and portrait. Below his name, the words 869 were displayed in large font. This meant that other than himself, Jiang Chun could keep 868 people alive. Are the cultivators of the great thousand world too weak? Or is this guy ridiculously strong? The Buddha of the Arch mumbled, somewhat dumbfounded. I've seen a lot of people like this. How powerful are they on the path of cultivation? But in the end, how many of them can stand at the same height as us? Most of them have died prematurely. Another emperor said indifferently, "It's just over 800 points. So what if all 800 of them survive? They have no foundation when they enter the great thousand world. They will be ostracized or even die prematurely." In response, the Buddha of the Arch frowned, seemingly dissatisfied with the words of these emperors. As emperors, what we say is the law. Naturally, we have to keep our word. The Buddha of the Arch said, "When the living beings of the six realms enter the great thousand world, we have to arrange a place for them to stay." "Master, you're right. We're ignorant." The other five emperors nodded in agreement. Obviously, the Buddha Thearcha's position among these emperors was not ordinary. At this moment, on the Chang and plains, the group of people stopped. This was because there were changes in the Chang and ancient ruins. The stone door cracked, and an ancient but majestic aura spread out from the stone door. Boom! Boom! Vaguely, everyone seemed to hear an army of thousands of men and horses rushing out from behind the stone door. "What's inside?" Jiang Chun asked. "My soldiers." Nian Chang'e smiled and said, "Whether the world is in chaos or not, I, Chang'an, have the final say." This is not a casual remark. Back then, those who witnessed the chaotic era understood that once I, the Chang'an ancestor, appear, the world's chaos will be 70% mine. F***CK. Jiang Chun cursed and stared at Nian Chang'e with a strange expression. "You plan to bring chaos to the world?" "Why not?" Nian Chang'e asked. One had to know that the world was already chaotic enough. The living beings of the netherworld stepped into the world of the living, and the great thousand world descended into the six realms. Even the eternal fortress might not be able to stop it. At that time, the netherworld, the great thousand world, and the living beings of the other realms would all descend. How could the last realm of the six realms not be chaotic? Since it was going to be chaotic and destroyed, it was better to start it personally. Once, a great sage deduced that the six realms would indeed be destroyed. This is a reincarnation, Nian Chang'e said. However, just as the great sage deduced, destruction does not mean extinction. This is just a reincarnation. After the reincarnation, the six realms will be rebuilt, and we only need to go with the flow. At some point in the future, the six realms are destined to return. Speaking of this, Nian Chang'e smiled and said, "Now is the last time we will stay in the six realms. During this time, what we need to do is to fight for resources. When the six realms are destroyed, everything will cease to exist. Before that, we should try our best to collect cultivation resources. When the time comes, we will have a foothold in the great thousand world, right? Jiang Qin's eyes lit up when he heard this. He secretly thought that Nian Chang'e, who was usually simple and honest, was very meticulous in his thinking. At the same time, a glimmer of hope appeared in Jiang Qin's heart. The destruction of the six realms might be temporary. Perhaps, as the great sage deduced, the six realms would be rebuilt at a certain point in time and would return. Those who are not involved should quickly disperse. The treasures here will be controlled by the great thousand world. At this moment, a divine master expert spoke. His attitude was very tough. He even joined forces with a few other divine masters and divine kings to expel the creatures of the six realms with terrifying pressure. Divine Master, I can't stop them. Jiang Qin's face was gloomy. He looked at Nian Chang'e and asked, You're also a divine master. But can you stop so many people? I can't stop them. Nian Chang'e said directly with a trace of cunning in his eyes. But why should I stop them? After that, Nian Chang'e nodded at Jiang Qin and the others and said, Let's go. We'll watch the show later. Jiang Qin did not ask any more questions. In the end, the group left and retreated into the distance. However, the three great virtuous beings stayed. They relied on their race's identity and insisted on getting a share of the pie here. This made the experts of the great thousand world feel quite helpless. They could only nod and agree. When the time came, it would not hurt to share some with the three great virtuous beings. Chapter 1048. The stone door of the Chang and ancient ruins finally cracked open. For a moment, it was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were rushing out of the stone door. The sound of horse hooves and soldiers' roars were deafening. At that moment, the group of people surrounding the ancient ruins looked excited. They had learned that there was a great power hidden in the Chang and ancient ruins. However, in the next moment, when the things rushed out of the ancient ruins, the group of people was dumbfounded. Even the godly, venerable experts felt their scalps go numb at that moment. They ran away without looking back. That was because what rushed out of the stone door was a group of skeletons. Upon closer inspection, each skeleton was shining with divine light. They held spears in their hands, and the skeletal horses under their feet neighed. The strong, murderous aura was like a dark cloud, covering half of the sky. The most shocking thing was that there were more than 30 skeletons in this group of skeletons, and each of them had the cultivation of an godly venerable. Upon closer inspection, the leader of the skeletons exuded an aura that had reached the level of an emperor god. He was only one step away from becoming an emperor. This is a group of... what? A group of undead warriors? The crowd exclaimed. Some of them were already lifted up by a bone spear and hung in the air dead. Run! This is a trap! It was only then that the crowd realized that the so-called Chang and ancient ruins was a trap. What was hidden in this place was not a treasure, but a group of skeletal generals with extremely high cultivation levels. Are these your soldiers? Jiang Qin stood in the distance, staring at Nian Chang'e with a strange expression. I spent a lot of effort on them. Nian Chang'e smiled. This is my foundation, my soldiers. They are all from the Chang and clan. After death, they are willing to be bones to protect Chang and forever, said Nian Chang'e. After that, he waved his hand and shouted, Generals, listen to my order. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In an instant, a deafening roar came from the skeletal warriors. They lined up neatly, and their hollow eyes looked at Nian Chang'e in unison. Kill. Nian Chang'e's eyes suddenly turned cold and murderous. He said, Let the creatures of the vast thousand worlds know that even if the six realms are about to be destroyed, I, Chang'en, have the final say in the chaos of the world. Yes! At this moment, the 30 or so skeletal warriors roared. Their skeletal horses neighed, and the spears in their hands burst forth with boundless sharpness. More than 30 of them charged forward like an army. In just a short moment, they had killed thousands of cultivators from the greater thousand worlds. As for the godly kings, supreme gods, and even godly emperors, they did not dare to fight back and retreated far away. Their eyes were filled with shock and murderous intent. No one would have thought that in the nine heavens divine world, in the so-called Chang and ancient ruins, there was actually such a group of strong cultivators. They don't have spirituality and are like walking corpses. They only listen to him. Someone noticed something and stared at Nyen Changa. Then, a godly emperor rushed over with boundless light. When he pointed his finger, it was like a bolt of lightning. Nyen Changa's expression turned serious. He grabbed Jiang Chun and the rest and directly escaped into the void. After all, that was a godly emperor-level cultivator. No matter how strong Nyen Changa was, it was difficult for him to compete with a godly emperor. Not long after he retreated, the skeletal warriors also escaped into the void and disappeared in a few breaths' time. At this moment, near the Chang and ancient ruins, blood flowed like a river and corpses were everywhere. Have you seen the emperors of the extraterritorial regions? The people of the divine world are persecuting us. Please help us, emperors of the extraterritorial regions. At this moment, many creatures from the vast thousand worlds shouted, their voices shaking the heavens. The Buddhist Tharch and the rest in the extraterritorial regions also saw the massacre with their own eyes. They thought that the people of the divine world had broken the rules. You can't fight those two levels above you. You've gone too far, one of the emperors shouted angrily. An emperor's aura filled the air as if it was going to crush the extraterritorial regions. There was even an emperor who rushed toward the divine world. He wanted to find the skeletal warriors and kill them. However, the moment he entered the divine world, Jiang Chen's expression suddenly changed. He had been carrying Huang Tian's coffin with him all this time. He had only used a special ability to shrink it and put it in his sleeve. At this moment, with the arrival of the emperor, there was a fluctuation in the sky-burying coffin. I have something to do. You guys go to the Nine Skies court and wait for me. Jiang Chun did not want to expose himself, so he turned and ran into the distance. Zhang Lu and the rest did not ask why. In their hearts, it was fine as long as they trusted Jiang Chun unconditionally. Nyen Changa was deep in thought. He raised his head and looked at the emperor who had entered the divine world. A trace of mockery appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he said, I'm afraid he's here to die. Boom! After a dozen breaths' time, an ecliptic light shot into the sky. A man shrouded in ecliptic chi appeared. Without saying a word, he slapped toward the emperor. It's you again? The emperor was shocked. He had seen this person's strength before. Not daring to face him head-on, he hurriedly retreated into the distance. Unfortunately, Jiang Chun, now possessed by the power of the yellow heavens, moved with incredible speed. Not only did he catch up to his opponent, but he also punched him, shattering his opponent's fleshly body. What? The Emperor of the Great Thousand Domains had his body shattered? No way. How could there be such an expert in the divine world? This scene was witnessed by many people. In particular, when they saw the Emperor's body shatter with a single punch, the beings from the Great Thousand Domains were shocked. In their eyes, cultivators from the Great Thousand Domains were stronger than those from the Six Realms. The Emperor of the Great Thousand Domains was the true, invincible Emperor. Who would have thought that the invincible Emperor would be unable to withstand a single punch from the mysterious Emperor of the divine world? The divine world made an exception first. At this moment, the Emperor had rebuilt his body. His face was full of anger, but he did not dare to attack. He flew into the outer realm without looking back. At the same time, the Buddhist Emperor and the others were waiting for him in the outer realm. What exception? That's a divine ability of the divine world's cultivators. Jianshan whispered, standing in the outer realm. He looked at the Buddhist emperor and the others and said, "You emperors can't sit still after seeing your own disciples killed? Fellow Taoist, we've already agreed that those two levels above them are not allowed to fight." The Buddhist emperor formed a Buddhist seal and said slowly, "Those skeletal warriors killed true gods and profound gods. This is indeed a violation of the rules." That's because the cultivators of your great 1,000 domains are too weak. Jiangchen retorted. I said, that's a divine ability of the divine world. This is an exception. You're twisting words and forcing logic. The emperor, whose body had been shattered by Jiangchen, rebuked angrily. Are we blind? Even the weakest of those skeletal warriors was a supreme god. Chapter 1049. Nianchanga's troops had slaughtered a group of cultivators from the boundless world. From the true gods to the divine kings, there were many casualties. This action was undoubtedly a violation of the rules. However, at this moment, Jiangchen's attitude was very firm. He denied that this was not a violation of the rules. This was a divine secret skill. He even tried to defend himself by saying that the master of those skeletal warriors was only at the profound god level. He is a Xian god. Because he has mastered a secret skill, he can control the skeletal warriors. Jiangchen explained, this is a divine secret skill. It is not a violation of the rules. Don't quibble. Do you think we are stupid? Or do you think we are blind? The group of emperors shouted angrily. They stood outside the realm and faced off against Jiangchen, who was inside the realm. What's wrong with these lords? Why aren't they attacking? What's going on? Why are the 6 emperors related to the emperor of the divine realm? Many people were confused because they had seen Jiangchen's strength. At this moment, the Buddha the Arch and the others were having a headache. They knew how terrifying Jiangchen was. Even if the 6 of them worked together, they might not be able to kill him. Moreover, the destruction of the 6 realms was inevitable. They were not in a hurry. There was no need to make things difficult for Jiangchen. After all, once they fought, they might die if they were not careful. Fellow cultivator, in your opinion, how should we solve this matter? The Buddha the Arch asked. Just let it go. Jiangchen said unhappily. How do you want to solve it? Just let it go just like that. You killed so many cultivators from the boundless world, and you just let it go like that. At this moment, the emperors were unhappy. Although in their eyes, all living things were ants, as emperors, they had already transcended. However, those cultivators were living things from the boundless world. So many of them had died at once. To the emperors, it was not their lives that had died, but the face of the boundless world. Fellow cultivator, to be reasonable, you are indeed in the wrong. The Buddha the Arch frowned and said, there should be some compensation, right? Oh, what kind of compensation? Jiangchen asked. Don't tell me I want you to kill your way back. This? The Buddha Thearcha's face fell. For a moment, he didn't know how to make up for it. At this moment, a stream of light flew from below and landed beside Jiangchen in the blink of an eye. Taking a closer look, this was a woman, and her cultivation was also in the imperial realm. The moment Jiangchen saw this woman, he couldn't help but be stunned, as if he was very surprised. My master said that this matter is over. At this moment, the woman's expression was cold as she said, if you don't want to settle this and want compensation, I don't mind exchanging blows with you. How presumptuous! Are you people from the 6 realms all so unreasonable? Too arrogant. Don't think that we won't dare to make a move. The emperors shouted angrily. Their auras exploded as if they were about to attack. The Buddha the Arch hurriedly intervened. With a face full of smiles, he said, everyone, let's forget about it. Master, this matter, are we really going to let it go just like that? How can we just let it go like this? The other emperors were furious. They secretly wondered if the master was muddle-headed. Or was he terrified? However, when they thought of the Buddha Thearcha's power, they were confused. They knew that the Buddha the Arch was very powerful. Even if he had been beaten up by Jiangchen before, there was no doubt about his power. Therefore, such a powerful Buddha, the Arch naturally wouldn't admit defeat. Now, since he had admitted defeat, there must be a reason. We will listen to the master. In the end, the emperors took a step back. However, they also warned Jiangchen, asking the cultivators of the realm of gods to be careful. There mustn't be a next time. Jiangchen naturally agreed. However, as for whether there would be a next time, Jiangchen couldn't be bothered to guarantee. Then, The Buddha, the Arch, and the rest retreated far away and stood in the depths of the realm of gods. The power in Jiang Chen's body was also gradually weakening. Soon, the power disappeared and brought Jiang Chen to a canyon. As soon as he returned, Jiang Chen kept the sky-burying coffin and observed his surroundings like a thief. After making sure that no one had discovered him, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, all of a sudden, a figure appeared in front of Jiang Chen. This person was the female emperor, just now. "Master, how long has it been since we last met? Do you still remember me?" The woman smiled. She had actually chased Jiang Chen all the way here. Moreover, looking at her, she should know about the matter of Jiang Chen using the power of Huang Tian. Godless continent, Mu clan, the ninth princess. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows and said, "I almost forgot about you. Master, even if you have forgotten about me, I can't forget about you." The ninth princess squinted her eyes and then suddenly smiled. She revealed an obedient and cute look and said, "Master, did you miss me?" Ah! Jiang Chen was stunned. To be honest, if he had not met the ninth princess today, he would have really forgotten that he had such a disciple. Back then, when Jiang Chen met the ninth princess in the godless continent, he was wary of her. It was all because the ninth princess was a reincarnation stowaway. At that time, Jiang Chen had his own plans. He had made a contract with the ninth princess and accepted her as his disciple. However, after that, the two of them rarely contacted each other. It was all because Jiang Chen knew that if he had too much contact with a reincarnation stowaway, he might bring misfortune to himself. As time passed, Jiang Chen forgot that he had such a disciple. Now, he did not expect that the ninth princess, whom he had not seen for a long time, was now an emperor. "Why did you suddenly come to find me?" Jiang Chen asked. Jiang Chen did not treat the ninth princess as a disciple from the bottom of his heart. He knew that the ninth princess had an extraordinary identity. Not only was she a reincarnation stowaway, she probably had another identity. After all, Jiang Chen had accepted the ninth princess as his disciple because of some small considerations. He had thought that the two of them would never cross paths again in this life. He did not expect to meet her today. "Master, when you accepted me as your disciple, we are master and disciple." The ninth princess smiled and said, "Then, as your disciple, now that I have encountered difficulties, I naturally have to look for you, my master." As soon as she said that, Jiang Chen's expression suddenly froze. He stared at the ninth princess and asked, "You've been found?" "Yes." The smile on the ninth princess' face suddenly disappeared when she heard that. She said in a deep voice, "After my cultivation was restored, the reincarnation hunters found me. Now, I'm considered to be running away." "No way. You are now an emperor. Why would you be afraid of those reincarnation hunters?" Jiang Chen exclaimed. One must know that in the eyes of the world, an emperor was invincible and surpassed everything. Although the reincarnation hunters were mysterious, they could not compete with an emperor, right? Then, why did the ninth princess, as an emperor, have to run away in the face of the reincarnation hunters? Does everyone still remember the ninth princess? If you don't remember, you can go back and read the chapter about 385. It was time to fill in the hole that he had dug previously. Chapter 1050. An emperor of a generation was actually running for her life, and the person chasing her was not even an emperor. If this matter were to spread, not many people would believe it. However, this was the truth. The ninth princess, as an emperor, was indeed being hunted. At the same time, in the outer realm, the Buddha the Arch frowned as if something was bothering him. The other emperors were also confused. They did not know why the Buddha the Arch had admitted defeat earlier. She seems to be a reincarnation stowaway. After a few breaths, the Buddha the Arch said in a low voice, "Didn't you notice it just now? That female emperor has the mark of a reincarnation hunter." "What? Reincarnation stowaway? Wasn't reincarnation broken a long time ago? Since the collapse of the ancient netherworld, reincarnation has stopped." Everyone exclaimed. Obviously, they knew some ancient history. Moreover, they knew about the ancient netherworld. Perhaps the six realms are really different from the greater thousand realms. The Buddha Dharch said in a low voice, "As far as I know, there are a few living beings who reincarnate in the six realms. There is even a living being who reincarnated several times. In the greater thousand realms, it is impossible to reincarnate once, let alone several times. Since the collapse of the ancient netherworld, reincarnation has been broken. No one can reincarnate." Then here was the question: why could the living beings of the six realms reincarnate? And some could reincarnate several times? And why couldn't the living beings of the greater thousand realms reincarnate? Could it be that there was another path of reincarnation in the six realms? Let's not talk about this first. About the reincarnation hunter, what do you think? The Buddha Dharch asked. As soon as he said this, the other five emperors fell silent. There was even a hint of fear in their eyes. Even if they were emperors, after hearing the words reincarnation hunter, they were filled with fear and even fear. This was because they knew very well what kind of power was behind the reincarnation hunter. That power was truly indestructible and had existed since time immemorial. That power was very large. Not only did it have bases in the six realms, but it also had several bases in the greater thousand realms. Once, there was a top power in the greater thousand realms that had a conflict with that power. In the end, that top power gathered all the experts, a total of 6 emperors and 13 emperors, to attack the reincarnation hunter's forces. But in the end, that peak power was destroyed in a single day. Those 6 monarchs had fallen, and the 13 god emperors had perished. Since then, more and more people knew about the power of the samsara hunters. At the same time, they also knew their name, the Night Watchers. Of course, more people called them hunters. However, the real name of the organization was the Night Watchers. In the end, someone flipped through a large number of ancient books to search for information about this Night Watcher and really found a clue. According to the ancient records, the Night Watchers originated from the primordial era, and they were an existence that existed in the same era as the ancient hell. Furthermore, the Night Watcher seemed to have an unusual relationship with the ancient underworld. The most frightening thing was that no one had ever seen the higher-ups of the Night Watchers. The Night Watchers that the world saw were all walking corpses that were controlled by others. They were the reincarnation hunters. As for the real Night Watchers, no one had ever seen them. Someone had deduced that the real Night Watchers were so strong that they had already transcended the shackles of the world. The aura of a reincarnation hunter on that woman is very strong. I'm afraid she has already been targeted. We'd better not have too much contact with her to avoid unnecessary trouble, the Buddha Dharch said in a low voice. Reincarnation hunters can hunt emperors, someone asked. What do you think? The Buddha Dharch said softly. There were records that reincarnation hunters had hunted emperors before, and they had succeeded. That is a group of walking corpses. Their strength cannot be measured by the eyes of ordinary people. Furthermore, it is said that every reincarnation hunter has mastered the power of reincarnation. You cannot underestimate them. The Buddha Dharch said, the power of reincarnation, that kind of power other than the ancient hell which other living beings in this world have mastered it. Everyone was puzzled, and even more shocked. At the same time, they felt that the 6 realms, which were much smaller than the Great Thousand Realms, might be more complicated than the Great Thousand Realms. At the same time, Jiang Chun stared at the 9th princess and frowned. He asked, "How do you want me to help you?" Previously, I thought of asking you to use the 1,000 Transformations heavenly lamp to help me remove the aura on my body. This way I can hide, the 9th princess said in a low voice. Then, without waiting for Jiang Chun to speak, she shook her head and said, "But if you do this, it will be very disadvantageous to you." "How is it disadvantageous to me?" Jiang Chun asked. To Jiang Chun, using the 1,000 Transformations heavenly lamp to remove a person's aura was very simple. It was as easy as lifting a finger. "What is your identity? Don't you know it in your heart?" The 9th princess rolled her eyes and said unhappily, "Don't tell me you really think that you are a normal reincarnator. Let me tell you, Since the collapse of the ancient hell, there are not many normal reincarnators in this world. Moreover, someone like you who has been reincarnated for several lifetimes. Hearing this, Jiang Qin's expression froze. He pointed at himself and asked, "I'm also a stowaway? What else?" The ninth princess said softly. She held her head and said with a slight headache, "You have not been discovered because the 1,000 transformations heavenly lamp has protected you. Unless you give me the 1,000 transformations heavenly lamp. Otherwise, just by removing my aura, I am afraid that it can only protect me for a while," the ninth princess said. However, at this point, the ninth princess suddenly laughed. This was because after she met Jiang Chun, she realized that things were not as bad as she thought. To her, it was simply a rescue from a hopeless situation. "Now, there is still a way," the ninth princess said. "You are my disciple after all. If there is anything, just say it." Jiang Chun sighed. "Let me enter the sky-burying coffin, and I will be safe." The ninth princess explained. The sky-burying coffin is a place where the heavens are buried. It isolates all the aura and karma of the world. If I hide in it, I am sure that the reincarnation hunters will not be able to find me. That is the coffin where Huang Tian is buried. If you lie in it, are you sure that nothing will happen? Jiang Chun was a little hesitant. He was worried that something big would happen. After all, the energy within Huang Tian's corpse had been constantly going berserk throughout this period of time. This proved that Huang Tian's corpse still possessed intelligence. If the ninth princess entered the sky-burying coffin and caused changes to Huang Tian's corpse, the consequences would be very serious. "Master, are you going to leave me in the lurch?" The ninth princess blinked her beautiful eyes. She looked weak, and her eyes were watery. "Just go in and try. If anything happens to Huang Tian's corpse, come out immediately. That is the corpse of the heavens. Don't be careless," Jiang Qin said in a low voice. Chapter 1051. In the end, the ninth princess entered the sky-burying coffin. She planned to hide for a while until she suppressed the aura of the reincarnation hunter's mark on her. After that, Jiang Chun returned to the Nine Skies Imperial Court. As soon as he returned, Jiang Chun felt that the atmosphere in the Imperial Court was not right. "Tianzhong, what's going on?" Jiang Chun found Jiao Tianzhong and found that he looked a little nervous and even a little sad. "Little sister, she..." Jiao Tianzhong opened his mouth, but did not finish his sentence. Instead, he sighed heavily. Jiang Qin's expression froze when he heard that. He hurriedly rushed to the back mountain of the Nine Skies Imperial Court and into old Jiao's residence. "Old Jiao, little Xiaxi." As soon as he entered the cave, Jiang Chun hurriedly asked. He looked around, but did not see Jiao Tianzhong's figure. "Sigh." Old Jiao sighed. His eyes were a little cloudy. After not seeing him for a few days, he seemed to have aged a lot. He slowly got up, his steps were a little shaky, and his hair was a little white. He walked to a box that was taller than a person. He reached out his skinny hand and touched it gently. "It can't be." Jiang Qin squinted his eyes and stared at the box, which was as tall as a man. He sensed it carefully, and to his surprise, he detected the energy of Jiao Tian. Could it be? The Pink Tian clan did their best, but that was a greedy ghost after all. Old Jiao sighed. "Little Xia is gone. It's the only one left." Jiang Chun did not believe it. He had always thought that the Pink Tian clan's foundation and strength were enough to save Jiao Tianzhong. He took a step forward and opened the box. Instantly, an extremely violent, murderous aura erupted from the box. Jiang Chun stared and did not move at all. The ever-changing heavenly lamp burned brightly and neutralized most of the murderous aura. Then, Jiang Chun looked at the box. There was no corpse of Jiao Tianzhong in the box. There was only a blood-red saber covered in obscure patterns. The saber's handle was 7 inches long and covered in black skull talismans. It seemed to be suppressing the ghosts. The blade was blood-red in color and was engraved with red runes. It was 5 inches long and emitted a murderous aura. 5 feet and 7 inches, a greedy ghost who kills hundreds of people. Jiang Qin whispered. There was guilt and sadness in his eyes. He knew that the Nine Heavens realm had disappeared. She wasn't dead. She was devoured by a greedy ghost. His physical body had fused with the greedy ghost. Perhaps the soul of the Nine Heavens was inside this greedy ghost, but his body was no longer there. Is there no way to save him? Jiang Chen asked. Even with the Emperor's means, he can't be saved? Since ancient times, he was the #1 greedy ghost in terms of killing. He was born to kill. This is the most powerful Tao of killing. Even emperors can't go against the Tao. Old Ninth sighed. His old eyes were cloudy, and there was a trace of sorrow and helplessness. Emperors, in the eyes of the world, were synonymous with invincibility. In the eyes of the world, as long as the emperor made a move, there was nothing that was impossible. But who would have thought that even the emperor would feel helpless? You didn't see the moment she disappeared. Her face was full of longing for this world. Old Ninth whispered. The face of the Nine Heavens remained in his mind. She was born a queen, the princess of the Nine Heavens dynasty. But when she was born, her fate was determined. The greedy ghost is destined to be unable to escape this disaster. Old Ninth whispered and stroked the greedy ghost. His eyes were full of kindness. He sealed the greedy ghost and calmed the murderous intent inside. But so what? She disappeared. She couldn't come back. Jiang Chen felt even more guilty. He blamed himself. If the Nine Heavens realm didn't help him, she wouldn't have been poisoned and lost her memories. If she wasn't poisoned, her body wouldn't be so weak. The dust on the greedy ghost wouldn't have disappeared so early. At least the Nine Heavens realm could have lived longer. Is there really no way to save her? Jiang Chen sighed again. The world was unpredictable. Who would have thought that the little witch would end up like this? Maybe there's still hope. Just as the two of them were feeling sad, the voice of the Ninth Princess suddenly rang out. Then, she separated a strand of spiritual will and turned it into a shadow. She appeared before Old Ninth. Her physical body is gone, but her soul should still be here. She should be sealed in the greedy ghost. She's muddle-headed and can't wake up. The Ninth Princess said, if her soul can break free from the greedy ghost's shackles, when she wakes up, she might be able to break free from the shackles. By then, with her soul, we can help her rebuild her physical body. For an emperor, this is a piece of cake. Hearing this, Jiang Chen and Old Ninth's eyes flashed with hope. But then, the two of them felt hopeless. Because the greedy ghost's shackles weren't that easy to break free from. Back then, there was an almighty who wanted to completely destroy the greedy ghost so that it couldn't be born again. But what happened in the end? The greedy ghost still existed. This kind of Tao soul couldn't be destroyed. Its blade was very strong and was a part of the Tao. Then, if one wanted to save the souls of the Nine Heavens from the greedy ghost, they had to break the greedy ghost. But who could do it? Even an emperor's full-strength attack couldn't break the greedy ghost at all. It was like a cage that couldn't be destroyed. And the souls of the Nine Heavens trapped in the greedy ghost had no hope of being born. The blade of the greedy ghost is a part of the Tao. If you want to break the blade, you have to break the Tao first. The Ninth Princess explained, and breaking the Tao is very difficult even for an emperor. Unless you surpass the emperor and take that crucial step. Since ancient times, how many people can break the shackles? The emperor is the top. Old Ninth sighed. Although the emperor is above the Tao, he can't break the Tao. In the end, Xiao Xia still can't come out. That's not necessarily true. The Ninth Princess smiled and said, if the power of the greedy ghost surpasses the Tao, then do you think the Tao will bless it? Without the blessing of the Tao, how can the greedy ghost not be broken? Hearing this, Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with a trace of thought. He seemed to understand that if he wanted to break the greedy ghost, he had to make it stronger. When the greedy ghost surpassed the Tao, abandoned the Tao, and lost the power of the Tao, then it would be the time to break the greedy ghost. However, the greedy ghost was the most terrifying Tao spirit in the world. Who would be willing to control it? If one was careless, they would suffer a backlash. What's more, They had to nurture the greedy ghost. Wasn't this a joke with their own lives? If someone can refine the greedy ghost into a Tao affirmation item, then when they affirm their Tao in the future, they might be able to sublimate the greedy ghost and surpass the Tao. The ninth princess said, "It's just that. I don't think anyone would be willing to use the greedy ghost as their Tao affirmation item. After all, it's too dangerous. If I hadn't become an emperor, I would be willing," Old Ninth said in a deep voice. Unfortunately, after becoming an emperor, he already had his own Tao affirmation item. However, a person could only have one Tao affirmation item in their lifetime. Chapter 1052. Everyone knew that things that were too hard were easy to break. This was the case for the life-greedy ghost. If it was strong enough, it would definitely break free from the shackles and blessings of the Tao. By then, without the blessings of the Tao, its body would be as fragile as a piece of paper. However, who would be willing to use the life-greedy ghost as their item of Tao? Moreover, once the life-greedy ghost broke free from the shackles of the Tao in the future, it would shatter and release the souls of the nine heavens. This was equivalent to their item of Tao, and it would definitely be destroyed in the future. In this way, no one in this world would be willing to use the life-greedy ghost as their item of Tao. This happened because of me. This life-greedy ghost. Leave it to me. At this moment, Jiang Chun grabbed the life-greedy ghost. Before the ninth sister and the ninth princess could react, a drop of blood essence formed a contract with the life-greedy ghost. "Are you crazy?" the ninth princess exclaimed. She only told them how to save the ninth princess. She did not intend to let Jiang Chun use the life-greedy ghost as his item of Tao. One had to know that the item of Tao was the carrier of one's own Tao. It could be said that it was another person. In the future, if the life-greedy ghost was destroyed, Jiang Chen's own Tao would also collapse. At best, he would be seriously injured. At worst, he would die. There's no need to say more. Jiang Chen waved his hand. His face was a little pale, and a trace of ruthless killing intent appeared in the depths of his eyes. He had merged with the life-greedy ghost through the contract. Now, his soul and Tao were merging with the life-greedy ghost. The killing intent in the life-greedy ghost filled Jiang Chen's entire body and even every part of his soul. "Do you want to die?" the ninth princess said in a low voice. The life-greedy ghost is the ultimate Tao soul in the world. It shouldn't exist in the first place. So what? Jiang Chen gritted his teeth. The killing intent filled his soul, making him feel like he was going to go berserk. Everything has a cause and effect. Moreover, after Xiao Xiao lost her memory, she acknowledged me as her master. It's reasonable for me to save her, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. The ninth princess's face turned ugly when she heard this. She was a reincarnation stowaway, and now that she had awakened, she knew Jiang Chen's identity. If something really happened to such a person, it would have a huge impact on the karma of the later generations. However, Jiang Chen had already made a contract with greed, and it could not be changed. "Can you withstand the killing intent of the greedy ghost?" Old Ninth asked in a deep voice. It has to be said that the killing intent of this greedy ghost could be said to be unsolvable. Even if an emperor were to fuse with it, they would still suffer a backlash from the killing intent. At this moment, they could see that Jiang Chen's condition was very bad. His face was red, his hair was red, and his eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. He seemed to be about to be devoured by the greedy ghost. "Transform." At this moment, Jiang Chen formed a series of hand seals with both of his hands. He wanted to use the myriad transformations heavenly lamp and the 3 strands of chaotic chi to dispel the greedy ghost's killing intent. However, the greedy ghost's killing intent was formed by the great Tao. Moreover, the myriad transformations heavenly lamp had not advanced yet. So how could it compete with the killing intent of the great Tao? As for the chaotic chi, it did not seem to eliminate the killing intent, so there was no change. Jiang Chen was stunned. This result was completely out of his expectations. He originally thought that with the myriad transformations heavenly lamp and the 3 strands of chaotic chi, it would be enough to dispel the greedy ghost-killing intent. However, he did not expect that "you will die like this." The 9th princess's face was pale. She was terrified. If Jiangchen died because of this, she would be considered a sinner. At that time, how would she answer those ancestors? Roar! While 9th elder and 9th princess were panic-stricken and at a loss of what to do, wisps of gray fog suddenly rose from Jiangchen's body. At the same time, Jiangchen roared like a ferocious ghost crying. In the depths of his soul, a murderous aura erupted. Murderous aura? He became a murderous aura earlier. The 9th princess and old 9th exclaimed. They did not expect that Jiangchen's body still had murderous aura. However, the murderous aura had been suppressed previously. Now that it encountered the greedy ghost's killing intent, the murderous aura actually broke through the seal. Moreover, the murderous aura seemed to have a mind of its own. It had identified Jiangchen's body and soul as its territory. Now, there was an additional murderous aura. In the eyes of the murderous aura, there was no doubt that it was here to snatch its territory. In an instant, the gray murderous aura and the blood-red murderous aura on Jiangchen's body, and even soul began to collide. Shocking explosions were heard. Those who did not know would think that there was thunder exploding in Jiangchen's body. After a dozen breaths, the left side of Jiangchen's body was shrouded in gray fog, while the right side of his body was drowned in blood. One gray and one red. They were in a deadlock. As for Jiangchen, he kept rolling his eyes and foaming at the mouth. He was clearly holding on desperately. Can you do it? Old 9th frowned. How can we help you? No one can help him, the 9th princess said in a low voice. This is his karma. If it's a murderous aura, it's better to become a murderous aura. Suddenly, Jiangchen roared. Under the vibration of his soul, the last seal on the murderous aura was broken. In an instant, the murderous aura exploded. The gray fog rushed to the sky and drowned the blood-red murderous aura in an instant. In the end, the blood-red murderous aura was shrouded by the gray fog and gradually shrank. Finally, it turned into a blood-red light spot and was suppressed under Jiangchen's soul. This has become a murderous aura? Are you okay? The 9th princess and old 9th hurriedly asked. They could feel that Jiangchen's current situation was not right. He had become a murderous aura. However, what surprised them was that after Jiangchen became a murderous aura, other than the change in his aura, there did not seem to be anything strange about him. Even his pupils were so clear and limpid. However, when Jiangchen looked at others in the depths of his pupils, there was a very obscure trace of violence, as if he would attack at any time. I've become a murderous aura before, so I'm used to it, Jiangchen whispered. I can restrain myself. What about the greedy ghost? Old 9th asked. The contract has been formed. Now he's my Tao item, Jiangchen whispered. With a wave of his hand, the blood-red light spot that was suppressed under his soul appeared. Then, the greedy ghost appeared in Jiangchen's hand. However, at this moment, the greedy ghost was surrounded by layers of murderous aura and had lost all its murderous aura. However, upon closer inspection, this murderous aura was also entwined with strands of murderous aura. Obviously, the greedy ghost's murderous aura was not completely sealed. Instead, it was entwined with the murderous aura. The two seemed to have reached a certain balance. This was a good thing for Jiangchen. The murderous aura and murderous aura had formed a certain balance. The murderous aura could not invade his body, and the murderous aura could not enter his soul. That was why Jiangchen was able to remain clear-headed. However, if one day the balance between the murderous aura and murderous aura disappeared, Jiangchen would either be devoured by the murderous aura or drowned by the murderous aura. What's with your expressions? I'm fine now. Jiangchen chuckled. He knew his condition, but he still looked very relaxed on the surface. Old 9th, don't like touching words. Old 9th, and the entire Nine Heavens dynasty will remember today's kindness. Old Ninth's expression was solemn. He cupped his hands and bowed to Jiang Chun. Thank you for today. Chapter 1053. While Jiang Chun was making a contract with the greedy ghost, something big happened in the Ninth Heaven Divine World. After Nian Chang'e brought everyone to the Ninth Heaven Imperial Court, he suddenly disappeared, along with a group of skeleton warriors. On that day, Nian Chang'e led a group of skeleton warriors to kill enemies everywhere. In one day, he killed more than 1,000 creatures from the upper-class world. At the ancient ruins of Chang, and Nian Chang'e had killed more than 1,000. Now he had killed more than 1,000. This was not only a loss to the creatures of the upper-class world, but also a provocation to them. Even the emperors from the outer realm could not stand it anymore. They wanted to kill Nian Chang'e several times. However, the Buddha Emperor kept stopping them, because the Buddha Emperor was still afraid of the reincarnation hunters. He could feel that the aura of the reincarnation hunters in the Ninth Heaven Divine World was getting stronger and stronger. It seemed that several reincarnation hunters had entered this place. Don't get involved with them. The Buddha Emperor said to the other 5 emperors, the Night Guardian is very mysterious and has many karma. As emperors, we are often entangled with karma. We must not act recklessly. Are we just going to let that kid kill indiscriminately? That kid is clearly a divine venerable. He even ordered a group of skeleton warriors to kill the creatures of the upper-class world. He's too much. The other 5 emperors' faces were gloomy, and their hearts were filled with anger. However, they still did not make a move. It was because they knew that the Buddha Emperor would not lie to them. Those reincarnation hunters were most likely in the Ninth Heaven Divine World, and there were more than 1 or 2 of them. Even the emperors did not dare to come into contact with those reincarnation hunters who were like walking corpses. In this way, without the interference of the emperors, Nian Chang'e had gone completely crazy from killing. Moreover, not only did he kill the creatures from the upper-class world, but he also attacked the forces of the 36 main gods. In 2 days, he first killed more than 1,000 creatures from the upper-class world. Then, he entered the He province and flattened the mountain gate of the Dark God Palace. The Dark Lord, who was in seclusion in the Dark God Palace, was on the verge of death and was rescued by another ancestor of the Dark God Palace. As for the rest of the Dark God Palace, except for the 2 main gods, Darkness and Darkness, who escaped, the rest were all killed by the skeleton warriors. On the following day, Nian Chang'e swept through and killed many creatures of the Greater Thousand World. Then, he entered the Qian state. On that very day, the Inferno Master God fled alone, and the entire Inferno Shrine was destroyed. What is he doing? Do you really want to stir up a storm and throw the world into chaos? He's avenging Jiang Chun. Many forces were watching, and they were even more afraid of Nian Chang'e. Even those top forces did not dare to make a move against Nian Chang'e at this moment. Even the Emperor God clan, the Horizon, the Pingtian clan, and other top forces only watched quietly without interfering. Until 10 days later. In 10 days, the entire Nine Heavens Divine World was completely messed up by Nian Chang'e. He had destroyed quite a number of forces that belonged to the 36 chief gods, and had even killed over 3,000 living beings from the Greater Thousand Worlds. Among them were a dozen deity kings, 2 supreme gods, and 1 deity emperor. Just when everyone thought that Nian Chang'e would continue his killing spree, he suddenly disappeared with a group of skeletal warriors. You're back? Did you have fun killing? At this moment, in the back mountain of the Nine Heavens dynasty, Nian Chang'e appeared in front of Jiang Chun with a smile on his face. Behind him, a group of skeleton warriors stood together. Their auras were restrained, and they looked like skeletons. I've killed enough. If I continue, those emperors will jump out. Nian Chang'e smiled and casually took out a space ring and handed it to Jiang Chun. He said, there are some cultivation resources and treasures in here. Jiang Chun frowned and stared at Nian Chang'e. He asked, what's wrong? I'm leaving. Chang'e said directly. The six realms are destined to be destroyed, so I'm leaving early. Where are you going? The Greater Thousand World? Chen asked. Chang'e nodded when he heard that. He looked into the distance and smiled. He said softly, in the past, it was you who paved the way for me and expanded the territory of the six realms. This time it's my turn. Speaking of this, Chang'e pointed at the group of skeleton warriors behind him and said, I'll take them to the Greater Thousand World first and occupy a place. I'll wait for you there. Without the support of the emperors, can you really establish a foothold in the Greater Thousand World? Chen asked worriedly. After all, Chang'e was a real person of the six realms. If he went to the Greater Thousand World, his aura could not be hidden. At that time, the creatures of the Greater Thousand World would definitely make things difficult for him. In fact, if the creatures of the Greater Thousand World found out that Chang'e had killed so many creatures of the Greater Thousand World in the Nine Heavens Divine Realm, they would most likely suppress him. At that time, without the support of an emperor, wouldn't this guy die prematurely? However, Chang'e shook his head with a smile. He narrowed his eyes and stared at Chen for a while. He said, You've forgotten. I'm afraid the people of this world have forgotten. What do you mean? What have you forgotten? Chen asked in confusion. Our home is in the Greater Thousand World. Chang'e sighed. As soon as these words were said, Chen was moved, and a storm was set off in his heart. Moreover, no matter who heard these words, they would find it difficult to calm down, especially the creatures of the six realms. In the eyes of the creatures of the six realms were their home. But now, Chang'e actually said that the Greater Thousand World was their home? What was going on? They're right. The six realms are indeed a burial ground. There's an invincible being buried there. Chang'e said softly. The Greater Thousand World came this time to obtain the body of the invincible being, so as to figure out his great Tao and master his magic. In this world, these six realms were formed because of the existence of the invincible being. If the invincible being leaves this place, the six realms will collapse. Hearing this, Chen finally understood why the Greater Thousand World wanted to attack the six realms. But why is our home in the Greater Thousand World? Chen was still puzzled. It's a long story. Chang'e sighed. In the end, every creature in the six realms, their ancestors came from the ancestral realm of the Greater Thousand World. Back then, the invincible being died by accident, and the ancestral realm was destroyed. Our ancestors escorted the invincible being's corpse here and buried it here. They hoped that with the power of the six realms, the invincible being would be resurrected and the ancestral realm would be restored to its glory. And the ancestors who escorted the invincible being to the six realms were our ancestors. They were actually tomb keepers, Chang'e said. Chapter 1054. Eras changed and time flowed by. The original people either died or disappeared, leaving behind only one mystery after another, as well as one coordinate after another. Some people said that after they buried the invincible realm, they returned to the ancestral realm and wanted to rebuild it. Some people also said that when the ancestral realm was destroyed, the ancestors went back to take revenge. However, no matter what the outcome was, some truths no longer existed. Only a few people knew how the six realms came to be, and only some people knew that their real home was in the great wide world, in a corner of the great wide world. There was a world called the ancestral realm. As time passed, the living beings of the later generations forgot their own identities and why their ancestors had come to this place. However, there were exceptions to everything. For some reason, Chang'e knew some of the truth back then. At this moment, he was going to bring the skeleton general to the great wide world. Of course, he was not going to the ancestral realm, because even he did not know where the ancestral realm was. What he wanted to do was just to pave the way for future generations. It turns out, we are all tomb keepers, Chen said softly, while a bitter smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. He said, "Is this our true identity? Do you know why the great wide world can't accommodate the six realms? Why can a mere six realms make the entire great wide world send people here?" Nian Chang'e asked. As soon as he said this, Jiang Chen said without thinking, "Because we're very strong. Although the six realms aren't big, there are many powerhouses, and there are also ancestors who are about to return." However, at this point, Jiang Chen sighed again and said, "It's a pity that there are too many emperors in the great wide world. The six realms can't compare to them. This is just one of the reasons on the surface." Nian Chang'e said, "The great wide world is afraid of us. They're afraid of us from the bottom of their hearts." Afraid of us? Jiang Chen was puzzled. He did not understand why Nian Chang'e would say that. Ever since Jiang Chen came into contact with the living beings of the great wide world, he felt that the living beings of the great wide world had always been arrogant. In their eyes, the living beings of the six realms were inferior, dirty, and even weak. They could not withstand a single blow. In that case, why should the beings of the great thousand world be afraid of them? You have to know that our roots are in the ancestral realm. We are the people of the ancestral realm, Nian Chang'e said seriously. In such a big world, who dares to call themselves the ancestral realm? Who dares to say that they are invincible? Only the living beings of my ancestral realm. Since the beginning of time, the heavens have never been destroyed. Only the ancestral realm is invincible. They are afraid of us. They are afraid that another invincible warrior will appear among us. It was also because of this that the beings of the upper-class world would do everything they could to come to the six realms. Not only did they want to take away the unrivaled being's corpse, but they also wanted to exterminate the beings of the six realms. They were afraid that another invincible warrior would appear. Now you should understand, right? Whether or not the six realms are destroyed is not important to us. Nian Chang'e said, even if the invincible warrior's corpse is taken away, it doesn't matter. Because in this world, no one can destroy the invincible warrior's corpse. Then what should we do? Jiang Chen asked. In fact, he already had an answer in his heart. Return to the ancestral realm and rebuild it. That's our home. There are still many living beings there waiting for us to return. A trace of sorrow flashed in Nian Chang'e's eyes as he said, if the ancestral realm is destroyed, most of the living beings will be trapped in the ancestral realm. And we are the hope of the ancestral realm. After saying that, Nian Chang'e looked meaningfully at Jiang Chen and said, it's a pity that you don't remember anything now. If you can awaken the memories of your first life, you will understand that as tomb keepers, we have to protect not only the invincible warrior, but also the ancestral realm. I really can't remember. Jiang Chen sighed. Jiang Chen also knew that he had been reincarnated for several lives, but now he only remembered the memories of his previous life. As for the memories of the other lives, he did not know anything. It doesn't matter. One day, you will come back, Nian Chang'e said softly. In the end, Nian Chang'e told Jiang Chen that if he went to the upper-class world in the future, he should go to the Southern Star area to find him. After saying that, Nian Chang'e left. He did not hesitate at all because he knew that there was not much time left for him. In less than a month, the emperors of the upper-class world would descend on the six realms, and then the six realms would be destroyed. In less than a month, not only did he have to cross the starry sky and enter the Southern Star area of the upper-class world, but he also had to establish a force there. A force that could protect the living beings of the six realms. The ancestral realm is where our foundation is, Jiang Chen said softly, and his mind suddenly felt clear. It was as if a layer of dust in his heart had been lifted, allowing him to understand part of the truth. One day, I will return. All the fog will dissipate, Jiang Chen said in a serious voice. Begin the guidance. On the third day, after Nian Chang'e left the six realms, the Buddha Emperor's voice came from the outer realm. Then, the stone tablet in front of them bloomed with multicolored light, and the Buddha Emperor kept reading out names. As for those whose names were called out, they would be taken away by the Buddha Thearka's divine ability and sent to their side. These people were all people who had defeated the living beings of the upper-class world. They had won once or several times, so they could all survive. However, in the six realms, there were less than 100 people who had defeated the living beings of the upper-class world. Half a day later, there were more than 30 people standing behind the Buddha Emperor. These people were all people who could survive. Among them, 8 or 9 out of 10 had only won one round, which was enough to protect themselves. There were also people who had won 2 rounds, but no more than 3. As for the extra rounds, they were naturally given to the strongest or most promising people in their race. However, there were exceptions to everything. Jiang Chun, Jiang Lu, Wakako, Xiao Qingyi. At this moment, the Buddha Emperor stared at the stone tablet and read out the names of Jiang Chun and the rest. At this moment, Jiang Chun and the rest were at the back mountain of the Nine Skies court. "You guys go first," Jiang Chun said. "Remember, when you go to the upper-class world, go to the Southern Star area to find Yin Chang'e. They will pick you up." "Boss, are you not leaving?" Jiang Lu asked. "Of course I'm leaving, but not now." Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness. "The 6 realms are also our home. Now that I have to give up my home to others, I am unwilling. If you want to take in the 6 realms, you have to pay the price." When everyone heard this, they instantly understood that Jiang Chun wanted to make a big profit before he left. Moreover, they also knew that Jiang Chun still had a big grudge in the 6 realms that he had yet to avenge. Farewell. Finally, Jiang Chun and the rest were taken away. However, Jiang Chun looked up and waved his hand. His meaning was obvious. He was not going to the upper-class world. However, on the same day, Jiang Chun announced to the world that he was going to sell his points. One had to know that Jiang Chun had nearly 1,000 points in his hands. This meant that he could save nearly 1,000 lives in the 6 realms. Chapter 1055. There were so many living beings in the greater thousand world, and many of them wanted to live. It could even be said that 99% of the people wanted to live. However, they were not strong enough and could not defeat the cultivators of the greater thousand world, so they could not obtain points. Without points, they were naturally in despair and had no hope of surviving. However, at this moment, Jiang Chen's announcement shocked the whole divine realm. Because everyone knew that Jiang Chun had defeated many cultivators of the greater thousand world and had accumulated nearly 1,000 points. And these points were equivalent to 1 life. Aoli Tian sect leader is here to pay respects to Tian Chun Supreme Being. Kunlun Mountain leader is here to pay respects to Tian Chun Supreme Being. West Continent tribe leader is here to pay respects to Tian Chun Supreme Being. On the same day, there was a sea of people outside the Nine Heavens dynasty. Furthermore, all of the people who had come were not ordinary people. They were all sect leaders or clan leaders of various sects. Among them, there was no lack of ancient supreme beings and even supreme beings. At this moment, these people stood outside the Nine Heavens dynasty's mountain gate with a respectful attitude and could even be described as humble. They no longer called Jiang Chun by his name, but called him Tian Chun Supreme Being. Jiang Chun stood at the entrance of the Nine Heavens dynasty's main hall, squinting his eyes and looking at the mountain gate with a mocking expression. You used to call me Jiang Chun, but now that you have something to ask of me, you've changed the way you address me." Beside him, old Jiu stood quietly with a trace of majesty between his brows. "How dare you make a ruckus outside the Nine Heavens dynasty's mountain gate?" Old Jiu rebuked angrily. Although he was very friendly to Jiang Chun, he did not have such an attitude towards others. After all, old Jiu was not only the royal lord of the Nine Heavens dynasty, but his cultivation had also reached the Emperor realm. Putting aside his identity, just his Emperor realm cultivation was enough to look down on the group of people outside the mountain gate. "Ninth Royal Lord, we have no intention of offending the Nine Heavens dynasty, but we have something to ask of you. Please forgive us, Ninth Royal Lord. We would like to meet Tian Chun Supreme Being." A few of the leaders of the top forces spoke up. Their attitudes were very humble, and some of them even lowered their heads and bowed, full of humility. "Everyone, there's no need to be so polite," Jiangchen said with a smile. He seemed to be very kind, but his next sentence caused the people outside the mountain gate to be a little confused. "If you have anything to say, just say it outside the mountain gate." Jiangchen chuckled. As soon as these words were spoken, the group of people was truly dumbfounded. They thought that Jiangchen would invite them to join the Nine Skies Imperial Court. "Heavenly Stellar God King, we have indeed offended you previously. We hope that Heavenly Stellar God King can forgive us. We know that we were wrong. Today, we only hope that Lord Tianchun can give our descendants a chance to live." After a few breaths of time, an ancient godly king walked to the front of the crowd and knelt down in front of everyone. His head knocked against the ground, producing dang-dang sounds. His divine power was withdrawn, and his head was covered in blood. Clearly, his attitude was extremely sincere and humble. However, Jiangchen chuckled and asked, "Which force are you from?" "I'm from the Fengxian sect." The ancient godly king hurriedly said, a trace of fear flashing in his eyes. He wiped the blood and cold sweat off his forehead and said, "I belong to the Ling Feng Master God." "Oh, the force under the Ling Feng Master God?" Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and said jokingly, "You don't know the relationship between the Ling Feng Master God and I?" As soon as these words were spoken, the ancient godly king trembled, and a trace of regret flashed in his eyes. He knew that no matter how much he paid, he would not be able to get any points by coming here today. After all, it was the 36 masters who had ambushed and killed Jiangchen back then. After Jiangchen's death, the forces under the various masters did not do anything good. They even hunted down and killed Tenshin Shinzo's disciples. However, if he did not come today, then there would be no hope at all. Lord Tianchun, the Fengxian sect has always been under my control. Everything that happened before was decided by me alone. It has nothing to do with anyone else in the Fengxian sect. Today, I'm willing to use my life to wash away my sins. Everyone's expressions changed when they heard that. This ancient godly king was here today to apologize? From the Supreme Court? Now you know your mistake? Jiangchen's eyes narrowed and said coldly, "Back then, after I died, when you hunted down and killed Tenshin Shinzo's disciples, did you ever think that today would come? Apologize of my life? Are my Tenshin Shinzo's disciples willing to do that?" Hearing this, the ancient godly king's face turned pale. He knew that no matter what, he would not be able to get any points today, but he was still unwilling to accept it. "It's my fault, but the Fengxian sect's disciples are innocent. We were cruel and unscrupulous back then. I will take responsibility for all the sins." The ancient godly king kept kowtowing. His face was covered in blood as he said with a trembling voice, "I hope that godly King Tianchun will give us a way out." "Give a way out?" Jiangchun asked with a serious expression. "I don't ask for anything else. I only ask for a few points in exchange for the survival of my descendants." The ancient godly king pleaded. After saying that, he did not wait for Jiangchun to speak and killed himself. His body lay in front of the Juqian court's mountain gate. There was a trace of divine light amidst the coldness of his body. Jiangchen's expression was calm. He looked at the ancient godly king's body for a while and sighed softly. "Your sins are gone with your death. I will not implicate your descendants. I don't have to take your life. It's just that if I don't do this, how can I face the innocent disciples of Tenshin Shinzo who were killed by you? You should bear the consequences of your own mistakes." At this moment, a middle-aged man rushed to the ancient godly king's side with a sorrowful expression. Obviously, this middle-aged man was the descendant that the godly king spoke of. He hugged the godly king's body and cried bitterly. He raised his head to look at Jiangchun from time to time, but there was no trace of resentment in his eyes. It was only because a life for a life was right and proper. This was reason. Perhaps the ancient godly king had expected this. Thus, when the Fengxian sect attacked, he was the only one who attacked. The others did not. "You go to the outer realm yourself." Jiangchen glanced at the middle-aged man and said, "The emperors of the outer realm saw everything clearly. If you go, they will naturally accept you. Thank you. The middle-aged man bowed, but did not go to the outer realm directly. He took out a silk book and placed it before him. This is my Feng Xian Sect's ultimate cultivation method. Can I exchange it for a few more points? Oh, ultimate cultivation method? Is it complete? Jiang Chen asked. Absolutely complete. The ninth emperor is here. I dare not deceive him. The middle-aged man said. Jiang Chen frowned when he heard this. He thought for a moment and said, take another person with you. Chapter 1056. In the end, the man from the Feng Xian sect brought another person to the outer region. The Buddha of the Arch and the rest did not have any objections. They only deducted 2 points from Jiang Chen. Could it be that those who have a grudge with you must pay with their lives? At that moment, a cultivator under the Lord God of Light spoke up. His cultivation was not high, but he was very talented and young. If he cultivated well, he would have a bright future. However, this person had participated in the assassination of Tenshin Shinzo's disciples in order to gain experience. Now, his expression was ugly as he stared at Jiang Chen. He seemed to want to instigate something. Jiang Chen smiled mockingly and said, that depends on how big the grudge is. I don't care about those who have a grudge with me. Jiang Chen said softly. Suddenly, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. He said, but if they hurt the people around me, then this grudge is very big. Jiang Chen's words were undoubtedly telling the crowd that those who had tried to kill Tenshin Shinzo's disciples were all his enemies. Is there a way to resolve this? A skinny old man suddenly stepped forward and knelt on the ground like the ancient deity king. His eyes were full of anger and resentment. When he looked at Jiang Chen, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, in order to survive, he could only lower his head and kneel. Oh, you are? Jiang Chen frowned and stared at the skinny old man. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the other party had the cultivation of a supreme god. Moreover, this person was only one step away from the supreme god realm. Such a person would normally be respected by tens of thousands of people and an ancestor who founded a sect. But now, he had thrown away all his dignity and knelt before Jiang Chen in front of so many people. He is the ancestor of the Dark God Palace, the one who was as famous as the Dark God King, the Dark God King. After a few breaths of time, exclamations of surprise came from the crowd, and they even revealed the old man's identity. Jiang Chen was also stunned. He did not expect the skinny old man's identity to be so special. Back then, when the 36 overgods tried to kill me, did you participate? Jiang Chen asked. When you were the godly monarch, all of us who had surpassed the godly monarch level, including the ancient godly monarchs, were in hibernation for some reason. The dark true monarch said, I didn't participate in your assassination. Then, did you participate in killing Tenshin Shinzo's disciples? Jiang Chen asked again. Not. The Dark God King shook. Since the Dark God King's named Dark God King, the God King's God Kings. The Dark God King's words. He was a god was even the onlookers were confused. They didn't understand what Jiang Chen was trying to do. I am a person who clearly distinguishes between kindness and hatred. Whoever did something should bear the consequences. Jiang Chen said, since you did not do anything, what enmity do I have with you? Then, can you give me some points? The Dark God King asked. The killing intent and anger in his eyes disappeared. He felt that he had underestimated Jiang Chen. However, Jiang Chen shook his head and said, I can't give you points for free. If you help me do 2 things, I will give you 2 points. What is it? The Dark God King asked hurriedly. One should know that these points were extremely precious. 1 point was equivalent to one's life. If he had 2 points, the Dark God King could bring another person to the outer region and enter the Great Thousand World. Under the Dark God Palace, there are 2 overgods, the Dark God King and the Dark God King. If you bring their heads to me, I will give you 2 points. Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes and said, they're the most outstanding descendants of the Dark God Palace. Can you bear to kill them? To his surprise, the dark true monarch immediately agreed to his request. Perhaps, when faced with a choice between life and death, no one would be willing to choose death. Moreover, as long as the Dark God King did not die, the Dark God Palace's legacy would not be broken. Even if the Dark God Palace in the Six Realms was destroyed, he could still build another one in the Great Thousand World. Thank you, Supreme Being Tian Chun. I'll be back soon. At this moment, the Dark God King left directly. It was obvious that he was going to kill the Dark God King and the Dark God King. There are still a few hundred points left. Everyone, if you have a grudge, come and settle it. If you don't have a grudge, use money to buy it. Everything is negotiable here. If you don't have a grudge or money, we will take care of it separately. At this moment, Jiang Chen shouted a few times at the top of his voice. Immediately, a few more faction leaders stepped forward. One of them was the old sect leader of the Ao Lai Heavenly Sect. His cultivation was also at the Supreme God level. The other was the old sect leader of the Kunlun Mountain. His cultivation was also at the Supreme God level. Supreme Being Tian Chun, I will be frank. Use the cultivation technique of the Kunlun Mountain to exchange for some points. Then, use all the treasures and resources of the Kunlun Mountain to exchange for some points. The old sect leader of the Kunlun Mountain was very direct. I wonder if that is possible? When Jiang Chun heard this, he frowned and said softly, the cultivation technique of the Kunlun Mountain can be exchanged for some points. That is naturally not a problem. But how many treasures does the Kunlun Mountain have? As soon as he said this, the old sect leader of the Kunlun Mountain was already prepared. He waved his hand, and 3 small mountains made of various treasures landed outside the mountain gate of the Nine Skies court. Jiang Chun was immediately stunned. He casually looked around and saw many rare treasures. There were even divine pills and miraculous medicines. What the F***CK? 3 mountains? Are these the treasures of the Kunlun Mountain? They are not inferior to the Dark God Palace back then. Jiang Chun exclaimed in his heart. He did not hesitate to put away the 3 small mountains. Then he said seriously, I am a fair person. I will give you 5 points. What? 5 points? 5 lives? At this moment, everyone exclaimed. 5 points, 5 lives. This was the largest transaction that Jiang Chun had made so far. The old sect leader of the Kunlun Mountain was also rather surprised. He had thought that he would be satisfied with exchanging everything of the Kunlun Mountain for 2 points. Who would have thought? Thank you, Tian Chun Deity King. Thank you. The old sect leader of the Kunlun Mountain thanked Jiang Chun repeatedly and even handed over the cultivation technique of the Kunlun Mountain to him. Then, he led the other 4 people and flew towards the outer realm. There is no need to say anything. The things that the Ally Heavenly Sect will give are the same as the Kunlun Mountain. The old sect leader of the Ally Heavenly Sect said, the sect's cultivation technique and all the treasures of the Ally Heavenly Sect. How much? Jiang Chen asked. About the same as the Kunlun Mountain. 5 points. Deal. Then, the old sect leader of the Ally Heavenly Sect also led the other 4 people to the outer realm. At this moment, the remaining group of people were excited. This was because through these transactions, they felt that Jiang Chun was not a person with a black heart. At least in terms of doing business. He was quite honest. Chapter 1057. Previously, Nianchanga had said that in the last period of time in the 6 realms, he should try his best to obtain as many cultivation resources as possible to lay the foundation for going to the upper-class world in the future. Now, what Jiang Chen wanted to do was not only revenge, but also to obtain more cultivation resources. Everyone, come one by one. There are still many points left. At this moment, outside the 9 Heavens Dynasty's mountain gate, there was a hubbub of voices, like a market. Jiang Chen shouted at the top of his voice, and the group of people outside the mountain gate took out all their belongings, just for that little bit of points. After a day, Jiang Chen did not have many points left, and the supply was a little short. Everyone, As long as you have enough treasures, I have many ways to help you get points, Jiang Chen said. As soon as this was said, many people had strange expressions. Some people even looked up at the outer realm and muttered in their hearts, "Those little bastards in the outer realm, are they going to cry?" Everyone, you also know that the destruction of the 6 realms is unstoppable. We have to live on and leave behind seeds for the 6 realms. At this moment, Jiang Chen's face was full of righteousness, but his eyes flickered with grief. Unfortunately, I am useless and only have a few hundred points. Now I don't have much left. So, for the sake of fairness. At this point, Jiang Chen paused and said, "Everyone, let's bid. F***CK. Previously, I thought that this guy's character was not bad, and he was an honest person. Now he's F***king bidding?" For a moment, many people cursed in their hearts, but they controlled their expressions well and were full of smiles. This was because no one dared to offend Jiang Chen now. Moreover, everyone who came here to seek points was the master of a force, and which one of them was not a top expert? How could they not have good things in their hands? For a moment, the bidding here became heated, and there was a hubbub of voices. Some people's necks were red as they shouted continuously. Jiang Chen was beaming. The treasures he had in his space ring were as big as 13 hills, not to mention all of them. Moreover, there were nearly 100 types of cultivation techniques, and these cultivation techniques, without exception, were the top cultivation techniques of each power. It could be said that the current Jiang Chen was definitely the richest person in the 9th heaven divine realm. It feels so good to have money. Jiang Chen sighed. Thinking back to when he was reborn, he was so down and out that he didn't even have the money to buy medicinal pills. But now, his wealth had swept through the entire 9 heavens divine world. In fact, with Jiang Chen's current wealth, even if he went to the great 1,000 world, it could be said that his foundation was extremely deep. "I don't have anything valuable, but I can help you with one thing." Just as the auction was in full swing, a middle-aged man with a plump figure shouted loudly. Then his aura exploded like a primordial beast awakening. "Supreme God! Higher Supreme God!" Many people were moved. Although they had seen many ultimate gods that day, they could not help but feel their hearts palpitate each time they saw them. Without waiting for Jiang Chen to speak, the middle-aged man said directly, "I know that the 36 lords have a grudge against you. I'll help you kill one of them, and you'll give me some points. How about that?" As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chen nodded without thinking and said, "Okay, I'll give you some points for killing one person. The more you kill, the more you get. As long as you bring their heads over, you can exchange them for points." Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as Jiang Chen finished speaking, he saw that the people outside the mountain gate were reduced by half in an instant. This group of people seemed to have gone crazy for a moment and escaped into the void, their faces filled with madness. They are? Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment. "Do you think everyone is so rich? Those who have strength but no money are waiting for you to say that." Old Nine smiled bitterly and said, "Those 36 lords are probably going to be miserable. They should have been aware of this long ago." Jiang Chen said coldly. In the following day, the divine world of 9 heavens went completely crazy. The mountain gate of the Temple of Light was blasted open, and the treasures inside were looted. Even the entire temple's disciples were killed. The martial god palace was also destroyed, and the treasury was opened and looted clean. At the same time, in the various small worlds of the divine world of 9 heavens, several godly venerables were shuttling back and forth, obviously looking for the hiding places of those few lords. However, the regrettable thing was that these lords seemed to have received the news in advance, and all of them went into hiding. However, there were exceptions to everything. The Temple of Light, which was also the sect established by the Lord of Light, originated from the Temple of Light. The two forces seemed to differ by a single word, but in reality, the difference in foundation was huge. Before this, the Lord of Light had entered seclusion in the Temple of Light to strive for the position of the God King. After the arrival of the Golden Age, He had been in seclusion all along, and today he succeeded. On this day, on a mountain in the Temple of Light, there were many lights and shadows, and even a divine core fell and merged with the Lord of Light. No, to be precise, he should be called the God King of Light now. After thousands of years, I've finally become a God King. At this moment, the God King of Light let out a long cry. He felt that he was incomparably powerful and was filled with confidence for the future. He's here, old thief Light. However, before the God King of Light could be happy for long, the small world in which the Temple of Light was located was penetrated by 3 godly venerables. At this moment, the few supreme experts of the Temple of Light were also panicking. Without asking anything, they ran away directly. As for the God King of Light, he was in a daze as he looked at the 3 godly venerables and asked subconsciously, "What's the matter?" Boom! However, what answered him was 3 fist seals. After 3 fist seals, he, who had just become the God King of Light, died on the spot. The 3 of us have discussed it. Each of us will take 1 head. All right, this head belongs to me. I'll accompany you to hunt down the other lords. At this moment, the 3 godly venerables had finished their discussion and set off again with the God King of Light's head. In the following day, the 3 godly venerables continuously broke through various small and medium worlds. They really found a few lords who had ambushed Jiangchen back then, and in front of the 3 godly venerables, what were lords? Even if a God King came, he would have to kneel down to them. Just like that, in a short day, the 3 godly venerables hunted down 18 lords. Among the 36 lords, half of them died at their hands. When the 3 of them arrived outside the mountain gate of the 9 Heavens dynasty with 18 heads, Jiangchen could not help but sigh. The power of a godly venerables was indeed extraordinary. According to the rules, Jiangchen did not go back on his word and gave them 18 points. Thank you, God King Tianchun. If you need us in the boundless world in the future, feel free to say the word. In the end, the 3 godly venerables left happily, each bringing 5 people to the outer realm. Chapter 1058. After the 3 supreme gods went to the outer realm, even more people went crazy. Some people dug into the mountains, and some people used secret techniques to search. Finally, 3 days later, only 3 of the 36 overgods were left. Other than the martial god, the sun overgod, and the heavenly water overgod, the other overgods were all killed. At this point, Jiangchen's grudge could be said to have been avenged. Although it was not his own revenge, at least this grudge was over. However, Jiangchen still had a knot in his heart. After all, there were still 3 overgods left. Where are these 3 little bastards hiding? The divine world of 9 heavens is about to be overturned by us. Why can't we find them? It's really strange. Other than those few places we haven't been to, we've searched everywhere else. At this moment, many people were gathered together, looking puzzled. In these few days, they had really turned the divine world of 9 heavens upside down. However, Martial God and the other 2 seemed to have evaporated into thin air. There were no clues at all. However, some people guessed that Martial God and the other 2 might have gone to those few places. This was because there were a few places that even emperors did not dare to enter to search. For example, the Pingtian clan, the World's Edge, and a few God-Emperor forbidden lands. Those few places could not be entered casually. The slightest carelessness could lead to one being suppressed. I've searched all the places I should, but there are a few places I haven't searched yet. We should be able to confirm that someone is protecting them. In the end, many people gave up. After all, the Pingtian clan, the World's Edge, the God-Emperor forbidden lands, and other places were not easy to enter. God King Tianchun, we can't find the remaining 3 overgods. We don't have anything valuable on us. Yeah, this. I hope you can help us, God King Tianchun. At this moment, many people stood outside the mountain gate. Their eyes were filled with despair, but there was also hope. This was because at that moment, as long as Jiang Chun gave the order, some of them would be able to survive. However, after these few days, Jiang Chun did not have many points left. Moreover, he had to leave them for OL9 and some other acquaintances. Everyone, I do not wish to make things difficult for you all. However, you all should know that it is extremely difficult to obtain points. Jiang Chun sighed and said, back then, I expended a Herculean effort, risking the consequences of my body and Tao dissipating before I obtained these points. When everyone heard this, their expressions became strange. They knew very well in their hearts how Jiang Chun got his hundreds of points. That was completely obtained by crushing everything along the way. For them, it was too difficult to defeat a cultivator from the great wide world of the same realm. Even defeating a cultivator 2 realms lower than them was very difficult. After all, the cultivators from the great thousand world came in groups. However, Jiang Chun was different. He was only a profound god. He could fight against true gods and titled deities. He was completely within 2 levels. Most importantly, Jiang Chun's battle prowess was probably capable of suppressing a chief god now. This guy was a point harvester. With your strength, you still say that it's difficult to obtain points? None of the people present believed him. Everyone Jiang Chun, do not like to make empty promises. I will be frank with you. At this moment, Jiang Chun's expression became serious and he said, I want all of your assets. No matter how much it is, as long as you can take it out, I will give you some points and let you live. However, if you lie to me and only take out part of your assets. As soon as he said that, everyone laughed bitterly. This was because Jiang Chun was planning to rob them openly. However, many people were willing to accept it. They did not have much money to begin with. If they gave him all of these things, they could exchange for their lives. Wasn't that good? Wasn't it worth it? Wasn't it good? I have always been alone. I have no descendants, nor did I establish a sect. All these years, I have been wandering around. These are the only things I have with me. At this moment, an old man walked out. With a wave of his hand, a few small items were placed at the mountain gate. At the same time, he used his divine thought to condense his cultivation method into a jade slip and placed it in it. That was all of his assets. Are you sure this is all of your assets? Jiang Chun asked. When the old man heard that, he nodded and said, all of my assets are here. Old Joe, give it a try, Jiang Chun said softly. As soon as he said that, old Joe's divine thought enveloped the old man's body, and he asked again, is this all of your assets? At this moment, the old man's body trembled. He knew very well that no one could lie in front of the emperor. Plop! Then the old man knelt down. His face was covered in cold sweat, and he said, I know my mistake. Here are some treasures that have been handed over. It's too late, Jiang Chun said coldly. The world is so equal. If you want to gain something, you have to lose it. If you are not willing to lose it, how can you gain it? Did you see that? People like him will not have another chance, Jiang Chun said. As soon as he said that, those who had some ulterior motives immediately became honest. Then, many people walked out, took out all of their assets, and let old Joe check them one by one. And for those who passed, Jiang Chun did not go back on his words and let them go to the outer realm. However, there were too many people outside the mountain gate. Half a day later, Jiang Chun really did not have many points left. Everyone, please wait a moment. I will go and get some points back, Jiang Chun said. This, Lord Tianchen, where are you going to get points? Someone asked curiously. I will need your help, Jiang Chun said with a smile. You have to help me find cultivators from the upper-class world. As long as their cultivation is below the overgod realm, you can inform me at any time. Whoever finds them will get the points. Of course, you have to give me all of your assets, Jiang Chun added. As soon as he said that, starlight appeared on someone's body and gathered into a compass. This was the stellar divination technique, a top technique among the divination techniques. Back then, Jiang Chun also wanted to obtain this divination technique. Unfortunately, it had disappeared for a long time and was suspected to have been lost. He did not expect that the stellar divination technique had actually been passed down. At that moment, everyone looked up and saw what seemed to be a starry sky on the compass. The starry sky was dotted with stars, and most of them were white. However, there were also some that were red. Lord Tian Chun, I'll trade this stellar derivation technique for my life. Is that okay? The one who used the stellar divination technique was a young man with delicate features. However, his cultivation was ridiculously high, an upper-ranked chief god. At that moment, he looked at Jiang Chan with a smile and asked, "As for the other treasures, I want to keep them for myself." When Jiang Chen heard that, he said without even thinking, "Sure, as long as the stellar divination technique is complete, I will give you 2 points." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.